recording has begun. Time.
Okay.
Dot eyes. What is the eyes top level domain? IS.
I don't know. Island. I don't know. Like island. IS.
It might
Because,
just
like,
be is the
maybe IO, because it's like IO is like Indian Ocean or whatever, right?
Oh, is it?
Yeah. So that's why it's weird. It's like h.io.
Yeah. Okay, let's look at dot is. Oh, it's Iceland.
oh
That's an island. I was close.
Yeah.
It's got I and land in it.
Country code
okay.
IS.
I was
NIC,
80% of the way.
Internet Iceland Limited.
Oh, poor Yuki.
What?
I'm watching F1 qualifying while we wait to start this, and Yuki Tsunoda did not qualify for Q2. He will start in 16th place tomorrow.
Damn. Just go on the minute.
Works for me. Oh, he went off the track.
Rip.
All right.
Those were like perfectly spaced on my track.
Nice.
Perfect second. They're close to perfect.
Close enough.
Oh yeah, certainly close enough. But
Yeah.
Close
You
enough for rock
have
and roll.
1, 2, 3, 4. Pat, do you have like a hard out for your race time?
it's in 2.5 hours
Okay.
is when the event in iRacing starts. So with three of us, I mean, certainly we've gone 3 hours before, but I'll keep an eye on the time.
There's
No.
a
Bail if I
surprising
need to.
amount of car industry specific top level domains.
Yeah.
Like dot
Like
Ford,
dot car,
Lexus.
Dot
Maserati.
Replicant.
It's weird that there's specific manufacturers that have top levels.
It's a lot of them. There's also dot McDonald's.
Weird.
Dot
That I didn't know
Mitsubishi.
that. So wait, is McDonald's dot McDonald's?
I don't know. Let's see. McDonald's.
Grimace.mcdonalds.net.
Oh, McDonald's just brought me to a Google search, so I don't know.
Yeah, weird.
It's because someone else is squatting on all the domains, and they're charging an arm and a leg for them.
Well, I actually
McDonald's
wonder.
is like, no.
I don't know what registrar you're looking at, but I actually wonder if maybe there isn't a .McDonald's domain, but somebody put it up there somehow so that if it happens, then they can have.
I'm looking at the IANA, which is like
Oh yeah.
the organizing body of pretty much
Right,
all
so
the top level domains.
that should be accurate.
Barefoot.
This
That's
is getting out of
dangerous.
hand.
Dot Blockbuster. Well, that one's a little dated, isn't it?
That's really weird. That's really weird.
Dot
Is it
Catholic.
like? Is it like last dot blockbuster? I think.
That'd be pretty good. Yeah, there's a lot of strange top level domains here.
It is not. All right.
It's,
Well,
really? Dot Datsun? They haven't made Datsun since like the early 90s. Whatever.
hello. How dare you, sir? Hello, and welcome to episode 171 of the Gaming Fyx podcast on May 8th, 2021. I'm your host, Andre Cole, aka your partner's favorite top-level domain. I'm joined today by Pat.
Datsun relaunched in 2013. Actually, they've been making them for the last 8 years again. Yeah.
Like making trucks?
I don't know what they make right now. So we can peruse their models. My favorite top level domain is probably I don't know. I don't know if is there a .weed? There's probably a .weed.
Oh,
Give me a sec.
most assuredly.
Yeah,
Oh,
it'd be
I
that.
have it open. Oh god, there's a lot of Chinese ones here. There's .wed.
No,
That's
not the
different.
same thing.
I'm dot marijuana.
Yeah, Datsun makes like A few different models. They're not trucks. They're not just trucks.
They
do
make they make small cars.
Yeah.
Probably mostly in Japan.
I don't think. Yeah, I think they're mostly just domestic in Japan.
Yep.
They're not.
Also joining us, speaking ahead of his turn, Alex.
I don't see a dot marijuana. There's one that looked like dot jorts, so I'd be pretty into that one.
Ooh, that's good. Is there a dot fucks?
Can I stack
give me a second.
Can I stack
There's not a dot
domains? Can I get dot jorts dot fucks?
I've experienced some issues that I won't get into in my professional life with redirects recently, and I don't want to think about the idea of stacking multiple George dot fucks.
302 babies.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. All your hottest top level domains.
There is a dot fun, so it's close enough.
Well, you're both
Not
you're both
close to what I
wrong.
said.
Well,
The
there's
best-
dot porn, so
I don't want that.
That's-
No, that's easy. That's just
the best top level domain is, of course, dot space, because you can visit fix.space at that domain, which is our website.
I wish there were emails you could send to a dot space domain.
Oh, like gaming at fix.space?
Oh, I didn't know. I guess we're the first.
Must be. If you want to send your emails to space, send them to gaming at fix.space.
Yeah, there you go. Yes. Do you want to go to space? Email us at gaming@fix.space.
Oh God, I want to go to space so bad. Like, if I don't go to space before I die, I'll die unhappy. So I'll probably die unhappy.
Yeah.
But like, even if it's just like a vomit comet or whatever, like, or like high low orbit,
they figured out
see the curvature of the Earth or whatever. Like
Bezos and Musk figured out how to have already figured out, they have future proofed it so that all of us who don't have $10 trillion are going to have to stay shackled to Earth while they get to go live on Mars.
No, I don't want to go that far. I just want to like go up for like an hour and then come back. Like
nope. You're gonna
do like a cruise around the moon or whatever. Like
we're gonna live in trash cities
Earth
in 20 years, and they're gonna live on a space station.
there's a
if I'm
farm.
If I'm like in hospice or something, just like fire me into space. If I'm gonna die, just like fire me into space. Let me go, and I'll die like in my little rocket capsule. I don't care.
At that point, they'll probably just strap you into some real fancy VR system and convince you you're in space.
No, I'm a
That'd
gamer.
probably work.
Oh God, what have I said? Ugh.
Oh God. Okay.
I don't like what I've become. I'm a degenerate. I'm a pervert. I'll know the difference.
A gamer.
Oh man, it's been a long week.
Yes, it has.
Don't even like. Oh God, I don't even want to get into it.
It's been for me. It has been a long week in every conceivable way. Yeah,
It has been.
I mean, aside from the fact that like my home life is good, every other aspect of life
that must be nice.
Yeah, is challenging this week.
Oh God, no. You know what might be good?
Video games.
No, maybe.
The fact
I don't know.
My cat wants to roll around on my lap, but I'm in a racing cockpit and there's not really a lot of room to do that.
Yeah.
And he's
Pat
having
you're like that senator from Ohio who is.
Please don't ever say that about me. That is an aggressive insult that I thought we were friends.
Did you see this story? This senator from Ohio was like calling into a Zoom meeting, and he had like the background replacement going, but he had a seatbelt on.
That's
so
funny.
like he had his room like as a background, but then everyone was like, "Wait, why do you have a seatbelt on?" And like you could see him like turning his head, like looking both ways.
That's funny.
He was called into a meeting, and I think it was about a bill about distracted driving or something.
Wow, really?
It's like,
That's
yeah,
a fucking.
so.
That's such a fucking senator from Ohio move. It's like, I'm gonna call into this meeting and I'm gonna make it look like I'm in a car and it's really gonna drive the point home. Like, God, just
except I think he was actually driving.
Oh, that would be fun. That's even funnier. That's an even more senator from Ohio move.
I think he was driving and just replaced his background, but I'm not entirely sure. But video games. That's what we're here for.
If you're from Ohio and feel the need to defend it, write us the email gaming@fyx.space.
My mom grew up in Ohio.
Oh, so she knows then.
She knows. She knows.
Generally, you've either got the people who have left Ohio or the people that are in denial who still live there. Wow. Or who are stuck there. I totally understand that it's not possible for them to just leave, but
Mary Kish should come on the show and defend Ohio.
Please, Mary, because
I don't think she would.
Just tear it down.
I don't think she would defend it.
Even
my mom
at this
really
point
likes Cincinnati chili.
We made a vegan Cincinnati chili recently that's pretty good. Uses lentils instead of ground beef, and it's pretty good.
Sounds all right.
I'm from Michigan, so I've spent a lot of time in Ohio, and it's not a Michigan-Ohio rivalry thing. It's just Ohio is a desolate place in a lot of ways.
Electric Six wrote a song about being stuck in Ohio.
Yeah,
it's trying to get out.
Let's just dedicate this episode to tearing down Ohio.
They kind of do it themselves. So.
I have one of my I know a lot of people that have lived or live in Ohio, and one family that lives there that I'm friends with. They have always defended Ohio and been willing to stance up anytime an Ohio joke gets thrown out. And even now over the past couple of years, they're we still like Columbus, but Ohio sucks shit. And I think that the love for Columbus is fading as well.
The only place I've ever known about really in Ohio is Cleveland because of the Drew Carey show.
Mm-hmm. Cleveland's a rough city. I feel I don't want to be too real, but I have a lot of empathy for people stuck in Cleveland that don't want to be there anymore because it is really economically depressed, and marginalized communities there are just treated like shit and get Cleveland's a strange place. It's
since Drew Carey left,
it's casinos and bars, and then you're just in really, really, really rundown neighborhoods that are rundown because of specific economic pressure placed on them to do harm at the benefit of wealthier people. It's terrible.
So America,
it's a rough place. Yeah, it is one of the most American cities in some ways, but it's so visible there because they don't hide the shitty parts very well. It's kind of a rough place.
I wasn't expecting our episode to start with gentrification and class wars, but
yeah,
here we are.
It's of course it's told from the perspective of a white lady, so it's but the third season of Serial, I can't remember, does is a look at a specific court in Cleveland, I don't have any particular opinions about the staff at Serial and the hosts and stuff, but there's some interesting stuff in there to pull out, even if it's not a perfect podcast about Cleveland's justice system. That it's always, we're a video game podcast. It's always good to educate yourself on the world you live in.
Well, I'm going to make a very tasteless segue and say it sounds like they could use some sort of vigilante who takes from the rich and gives to the poor.
Yeah. That would be cool.
I don't know, some sort of eagle cowl.
Like Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, like an Ezio Auditore.
I haven't played any Assassin's Creed games recently. Did you?
Robin Hood.
I did play. What I did play this week was a new game from Focus Home Interactive and Sumo Digital called Sumo Digital, developers of at least one of the Sonic kart games. That was where I knew them from, because I've seen their booth at PAX before, where they had you could sit in a replica of one of the Sonic karts and demo the game. But yeah, they came out with a new game this week called
That's
Hood.
actually what Pat is sitting in right now when he said he's sitting in a racing cockpit. He's sitting in a Sega Sonic
I bought
Racing.
it from them at the end of the PAX in 2019. I played some of this Hood Outlaws and Legends, which is a really, I will say up front, I think it's going to be yet another weird multiplayer game that comes out and gets mixed reviews on Steam, and it gets 5s and 6s from review outlets, and then it dies a sad death in 3 to 6 months because no one's playing it, which sucks because I think it's really interesting. It has like a degree of jank, but it's a cool premise. So the idea is there's 4 character classes. You got they're a little more like on the spectrum of like Overwatch to MOBA. The way that the game works is closer to MOBA, so their capabilities really matter for more than kind of what they do in like just a deathmatch scenario or a game where you're just fighting another player. But you have these 4 characters. You got your Robin. He's got a bow. If he does not look like a fox, but he has a bow. You have your, there we go. You have your Marion. She's like an assassin type. She can also do ranged attacks, but she's really good at stealthily killing. You got your Took, who's the mystic, who has a flail and is a melee guy, and he has some healing abilities. And then you've got John, who is this big fucking hammer wielding motherfucker. And you can duplicate classes, but you're going to pick a character and then you go into this 4v4 match. And it's really complicated for being like a $30 multiplayer game. So you're on this map. You got a bunch of NPC guards walking around of varying strengths. There's like your standard, like, oh, I'm just a dumb guy with a spear. You got your crossbow and bowmen. You got your knights, who are a little more armored and harder to take down. And then you got your sheriff, who you cannot permanently take down. He can be subdued with great effort temporarily, but he's going to get back up and he kills you in one hit if he gets to you and sees and finds you and like grabs you basically. So your goal is you start off at the entrance to the level. The entrance to the level never changes. But you're trying to find where the sheriff is and then steal a key from the sheriff. And then, which you have to do by sneaking up behind him and grabbing it when he's not looking. And then you got to find the vault. You open the vault with the key. You take a chest out of the vault, and then you take the chest somewhere to a few different extraction points.
You put that chest inside of a bigger chest, and that's chest inside of a bigger chest.
If by bigger chest you mean a boat, then yes,
nail it to yourself and you smash it with a hammer.
You put the chest on an evacuation point, and then you have to winch it off of the map to win. Basically, there's only one chest, and all of these objectives are things that you're fighting with another team to complete.
That sounds strangely like the Dark Zone in Division, like the original Division.
There's certainly are points of comparison to a game like that. Yeah. The flow of the game is really, the other thing that's really important to note too, is that there's capture points around the map, which act as spawn points. You capture them like you would capture a point in a Call of Duty Dominion game or like Battlefield or whatever. Just stand in the capture area, and when you own the point, you can spawn there when you die. So those are super important, because otherwise you have to run across the map, and the maps are fairly large. They're like the size of maybe like a Hitman level, something like that. And I think it's conceptually it's really interesting, because something that I noticed when playing with my friends is we were constantly talking about what was happening in the game, which is not something that we do when we play like, Call of Duty or something like that. There's not really, you just kind of are shooting the shit at a certain point because you're going through the motions. Even in games like Overwatch and stuff, I kind of eventually hit that point. And that may be something that happens with this game eventually, but it's been nice to have something kind of fresh where we have to like actually try and say like, oh, I'm going to go do this, because the characters have different kind of capabilities. Like Robin can shoot down ropes that are hanging off of like the sides of walls and stuff so that everyone can climb them. John can hold open portcullises that have been dropped because the enemy's been alerted, or the NPCs have been alerted. They'll drop the portcullises and John can open them up so you can get through. I don't know if Marion or the Mystic Took have any things that like that for mobility, but it means that like everybody's got different stuff that they're capable of doing at different stages of the heist, and everyone kind of has to be communicating a little bit. I don't know what good it would be with like random people. We've always had one random person because we have 3 playing, and it's been fine because the random person either follows up us or they don't, and you know, with 3 of us kind of dictating what we're doing, it's not so bad. But the thing that I think is going to have people frustrated with this game is that it's not a good melee combat game, or a particularly good shooter. The combat is functional as a tool to like to complete the objective, but it doesn't feel super good. You're like, I'm playing with mouse and keyboard, and you're left clicking to do light attacks and right clicking to do heavy attacks with the melee characters, and there's a lot of animation priority, but it doesn't feel like good animation priority because sometimes it just feels like you're kind of like swinging a stick with nothing on the end with any weight. And then when you're getting hit by melee, you just get stun locked, and it's like sucks.
Yeah, that's not good.
You can like block and dodge, and if you time it just right, you can get away with it. But the melee definitely feels more like if it's kind of like that Assassin's Creed multiplayer, in that the game is not about back and forth sword fights or anything. It's about sneaking around, and then when you do get into a fight, it's about like, oh, they started their combo first, I'm probably dead. And once you accept that and stop wanting it to be like For Honor but with cool objectives, then you focus fully on the cool objectives. And we were like, okay, this is really cool. The key here is we don't want to get into a situation where everyone's just standing in like a tight space clicking a bunch. Like that's when the game feels really awful, and that's what some games devolve into because people are like not playing the game right. But when you do play the game right, I think it's a lot of fun. It's a unique and interesting thing. And I hope that it doesn't get like murdered by Steam reviews, because I think that there's a potential for that to happen. My hope is they're doing, and maybe this is a strategic play on their part, they're doing the weirdest release I think I've seen, where you could pre-order and get the game's technically out on the 10th, so Monday here, but you could pre-order the game and get 3 days of early access, which actually started on like the 6th at 3 p.m. for me, which was cool because I got a whole extra evening to play it. But during this like quote early access period, you could just buy it and play it. You don't have to have pre-ordered it. It's just available, but it's not technically released, so there's no like user reviews or anything out for it yet. And the weird thing is, while you're in the pre-order period, you can refund it if you buy it on Steam at least. So you can like buy it and play 20 hours of it this weekend and then refund it because the game's technically not out yet. And Steam's refund policy is that like any pre-ordered game that isn't officially like an early access with the blue box on it, you can refund it before the game comes out, even if you get some kind of beta or early access thing to play. So maybe people who just hate it will refund it and then not review it. I don't know.
Have there been people like vocally doing that?
Vocally doing what? Buying it,
refunding it.
Oh yeah. It's been talked about as a thing to do as like in the subreddit and stuff for the game that my friends have posted. So I don't know. I think if you are interested in unique multiplayer games, you probably, if you're like me, I played this game and was like, oh, this feels better than I expected. But I'm also aware that my expectations are pretty low for game feel for games like these, because they're never
played a few.
Great. Yeah. They're never super great. But what I'm hoping is that this game feels like it was made to release. It has crossplay for one, which should hopefully make, and it's just working. It's not like Outriders where it's busted. And I see a lot of cross-playing players, and I hope that helps make it a little more like
crossplay.
Yeah, with consoles.
I didn't realize it was coming to consoles also. I assumed it was kind of like what's it called? What's the SWATy game? You play it with your mouse keyboard. You punch people. Chivalry.
Oh no!
I
so
thought
that's
it
the
was
thing.
gonna be like a chivalry type thing.
That's the thing, is because it's so objective focused, I think people expect it to be a chivalry type thing. I played the Chivalry 2 beta a couple weeks ago, and it's phenomenal. This game does not feel like, you do not have any fine control over your melee, like at all. You click and then you do the animation, and that's it. It's if it were a melee combat game, I would say it's a bad game, because it's like kind of like a rough version of Dark Souls combat or something.
Sure.
But because the focus is on the objectives, it doesn't feel like the melee is like, the combat is not central to the experience. So, and there's bad balance stuff right now. Like, if you get good at it, I've never been able to make it work, but apparently you can just like in open combat with someone, if you're able to crouch and get behind them, you can assassinate them, because you can always assassinate when you're crouched and behind someone. And there's there's just a lot of balance stuff that needs to happen generally, I think, to the game. But with the crossplay being what it is, I suspect that their goal was, let's put the game out, generate a little bit of buzz, make some money, and then put it on Game Pass and like the Epic Game Store for free or whatever.
They've got like a year roadmap laid out.
Yep, they're adding stuff to the game. So apparently there's going to be a PvE mode coming, which I don't think is as interesting as the PvP personally, but I have friends who are like,
there are definitely people who don't want to do competitive.
Yeah, and I think, I don't know. I think you should just mute everyone, try it out. But also, I get it. So, it's. I don't think it'll be a very good co-op game, though. I would wait for something like Back 4 Blood or something if you're really into co-op. But
sorry, I was just reading what other games Sumo Digital has developed. Just because I haven't. Really
They do like Mod Nation Racers or something. Or is
they
that
did
someone
Little
else?
Big Planet 3. They did Crackdown 3.
Right. They did the multiplayer on Crackdown 3. I think they did the multiplayer on Crackdown.
Unclear from this list I'm looking at.
They have Hitman 2 on their list, and I know that they did not develop. They were not the lead developers on Hitman 2, but
I don't see it on this list.
I think they've done a lot of contract stuff.
Yeah, I'm looking at, this is a list of games developed, so I assume this is stuff they've outright developed on. And Sackboy: A Big Adventure's there. A lot of racing games, which is surprising that this is
They have like 8 studios, which is wild. Like 8 offices.
Yeah, they have like 800 employees
around the UK.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I think they're a big contract house, and so that kind of gets to my point about, like, I think this game has its rough edges, and I think it's a weird release strategy, because this seems like the kind of game that you would have wanted to put out in early access or have a bunch of betas for, and they just didn't. So I suspect that for the next few months is going to fulfill that kind of like balancing and polishing period, even though you bought it, which take from that what you will in terms of how shitty. I don't care. It's a $30 game. It's not like it's $70. So it doesn't bother me to kind of pay for a sort of season 0 beta or whatever. But the thing that I'm hopeful, the reason I'm hopeful is it's published by Focus, so it has like a real publisher behind it, and a real publisher that isn't 2K or EA or Activision, who's just gonna like, hopefully they won't just like pull the plug in 2 months if it's not doing well. So hopefully it'll pick up. They're going to add another character this year, and then I assume they'll add more if there's interest in the game.
Man. What other like folk tale-y kind of characters would you want added to this? Like outside of the
Hansel and Gretel.
Oh God,
that'd be funny. It definitely has a cool, I love the vibe of the game, art style wise. It's like kind of grimdark. It's not like colorful and cheery Robin Hood. It's more like, holy shit, I just like you like when you assassinate an NPC as Robin, you take an arrow. He takes an arrow out of his quiver and like runs
Shoves it up
through
his
their
butt.
well, runs it through their throat. And there's a big spray of blood. John can like explode people's heads with his hammer and stuff. It's definitely like a dark, gritty take on Robin Hood.
What if same idea, same like basic, objective based multiplayer, competitive kind of thing, set in the Shrek universe?
Sure, I'm in. Done.
Yeah, into it, and then bring in, like, make the Disney Robin Hood canon with the fox, but only bring in Sir Hiss, and there's just this really fucking angry snake.
There's a Shrek platform fighter for the Game Boy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Don't worry, we're aware.
I believe there's one for the GameCube as well.
Maybe it's just for the GameCube.
Or it's like an arena.
What do you think the odds are that
platform.
someone's added online multiplayer to that? Probably low.
Possible.
Wish that would be amazing.
If there is Shrek, I'm saying it now. I'm making a promise. If someone can add multiplayer to the Shrek platform fighter by the time we do episode 420, we will stream that and play it as part of episode 420 celebrations.
That's a big promise, but okay.
It's also a promise that's not going to happen for like 6 years. So
Shrek Super Slam on the Nintendo DS and the GameCube.
Oh, it was DS.
And yeah, so it's DS and then like GameCube, Xbox, probably PS2. Oh, and Game Boy. There was a Game Boy Color game, but it was not the fighter.
Gotcha.
Oh,
okay.
okay. Got it.
Yeah. PC.
Anyway,
PS2,
I think Hood Outlaws and Legends is worth your time, and you can take advantage of the thing if you want. You can pick it up and play it and see if it's for you, and if it's not, you can just refund it this weekend.
Sorry to derail from what you're talking about here, Pat, but there's a Shrek subreddit called /r/Shrek Super Slam. So
what?
It's possible that this community exists.
Holy shit. Internet's weird. Oh, the other thing I should say.
Oh my god.
The other thing that's important that's kind of cool to say about this Hood game is you do have 3 perk slots that you can change out, and they have like pretty meaningful changes to the way your kit works, because everybody has like their weapon, and then you have a piece of gear that you can use, like Robin's the flashbang, and then there's an ultimate that charges over time. But then you can use these perks. So like I have a perk on Robin that's like, oh, you get ammo back when you do melee assassinations of NPCs and stuff. So the perks are pretty interesting, and you can kind of create team builds that way with your people you're playing with that give you strategic choices to make. So it's a cool game. I like it so far.
It sounds neat.
It's not as good as Chivalry, but
yeah. But I would like to, like you said at the very beginning, I would like to see how it is in like 6 months, because
for sure, yeah,
100% multiplayer games live and die by their communities and participation.
I will say there's a hilarious. First of all, I think I've played like 10 games of it at this point. And the games are like 20 to 30 minutes. So 4 or 5 hours of the game, and everyone that I've encountered pubby wise that has used voice chat has been chill. There hasn't been any like shitty sweaty stuff. However, there's a fucking hilarious bug right now where sometimes you will just hear people from other games talking. It doesn't happen. What? It doesn't happen when you're in the game, but when you're in your like, it has like the menu is like you're running around Robin's camp. So it's like a like hub space that you're in. And it has a bunch of practice areas and stuff, whatever. But when you're in that hub space, sometimes you can just hear people that are not in your lobby talking. Like I didn't realize that it was voice activated voice chat at first, and I got on Discord with my friends, and I have push to talk on Discord, so I push to talk. I'm like, hey, can you guys, or I was like hello to my friends, and then I hear in the Hood chat someone go hi, and I was like, oh god, oh no, what is going on?
Oh, I love it. That's perfect.
It was terrifying, and apparently my friend said that we were just in the camp picking out like new weapons to buy. They don't change, they're just skins, but they're cool looking. And he said he could hear people just being like, hey, fuck you. And then someone else go, who are you? And the first voice going, doesn't matter who I am, fuck off. And it's so funny. We heard one
that
person.
sounds perfect.
There was one person that was clearly streaming, and because they were like explaining a bunch of stuff clearly to an audience, and we were just cool about it and didn't do anything, but we could have like hit the push to talk in the game and just said like anything to their stream audience, and they wouldn't have known where it was coming from.
So I thought, when you said that, I thought it was just you were able to hear other
No, you can
games.
talk to,
I didn't realize it was two-way communication.
you can project yourself into other.
Wow.
Again, I think it's just pre-game lobbies, like the hub and the little lobby screen before the match.
That's
because I haven't heard
incredible.
anyone not in my game when I've been in game.
Gotcha.
But it's very funny, very, very funny.
That's really something.
Other than that, it's not super. It's fairly stable. No, I haven't had any crashes or anything like falling through the world or any terrible stuff like that. Servers seem reasonably okay. Like, we usually get a match in like under a couple minutes, and sometimes it takes a minute or two for it to fill, but never waited more than 5 minutes for a game to start.
Okay, well, hopefully once it launches, that'll be a little quicker, like official launch or whatever. But if you can just, does it say pre-order on the page?
Yep, sure does.
Maybe that's like some people are just waiting for it to be, because they don't realize like, oh, I could just play it now or something.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think the queue times are because there's nobody playing either, or a low player count. I think it's more since they just launched, their servers are getting like, they're a little slow to put games together. But I think it's,
At least they work.
I think they're dedicated. I don't know if they're dedicated servers or not, but it does say when you find a game setting up server, which I mean could mean that it's setting up the server client on somebody's local machine, but I feel like it's dedicated because I haven't had any disconnects and it's been pretty stable from a ping perspective. So
Okay, cool.
Well, that's Hood, Outlaws, and Legends. And Shrek Super Slam coming to a stream near you. There's actually there's a Vice article on that scene from 2016.
You know, I think I've read that.
Yeah.
Now that you're mentioning it.
Yeah. But aside from that, we're spread about the world, you know. I'm in Japan. Y'all are on the west coast of the Americas, North America specifically.
Yep.
But you know, near, far, wherever you are, this podcast will go
I was
on.
about to say, but it's really weird that we all have pretty similar accents, even though we're all over the world. Because I did not think this was the segue you were making.
Alex, you're still playing the Celine Dion game, right?
Yes, absolutely. I was
Canadian
about to say
national treasure.
I was about to say, can you believe in life after love? But that's Cher. So
Yeah, and I can, and I do. But
That's what iRacing needs, is the ability to put music over the.
Hey, remember when we were all like, "Oh, Trackmania Game of the Year," and then
it's
Game of
great.
the Year
It's a
came,
good
and
game.
It's good.
It's good.
The community's
It's fine.
dead.
Yeah.
Again, with a multiplayer focused game,
It's-
if the community dies,
I should try it on my. I got a 34 inch ultra wide 144 hertz monitor this
Yeah, you
week. I
did.
should try it on that. I bet it would.
In the cockpit, yeah.
With a racing wheel.
Yeah.
It's the best way to play Trackmania.
Yeah.
But I bet it would
The
look really good
Trackmania
on that
experience.
on this screen. I played a little bit of Rocket League this week because it looks amazing on it. But anyway,
Are you playing that with
Yeah.
a racing wheel?
no. But I
my
did
God.
pitch that. I did pitch that to the Shift F1 racing league that I've fallen in with, that we should totally do a Rocket League tournament, because our iRacing season ends today. I joined right at the end of the season.
Wow.
So we're doing some like dumb one-off races and stuff. We should. I pitched that we should definitely do a Rocket. The problem with that, but you could use the clutch pedal for activating boot. Oh no!
Yeah,
now
yeah,
it's
like
now
people have
it's
buttons on
turning.
there.
No.
Like you could,
Now the wheels are turning. Well, it's more the rotation of the car is important in Rocket League.
Sure. Yeah.
But if you use the clutch pedal for like forward rotation, I don't know. I'll have to think on this. This could be good.
Try it out on some bots and
No, I'm taking it to the competitive ranked queue.
Ladder, right? It's just trial by fire. Speaking of fire, I don't know. I haven't played Nier. They're Drakengard, dragons, fire, the lady with the salt falling on Tokyo. Nier. Yep. There we go. Got it. Yep. Nailed it.
It is pretty lit. That is accurate. I talked about it last week. Last week I was like 10 hours in. This week I'm like 40 something, 43, 44, somewhere around there hours in. And I'm still in the first ending, the first playthrough. I'm super taking the time with that first one and just doing like 100% quest completion.
That's definitely what you're supposed to do. It sounds like if you want to do everything.
Yeah. The last quest I'm on seems like it could actually take a lot of real world time. It's the one that people tend to time travel with in terms of like resetting their clock. So, I don't know. We'll see if I can find a way to make that work on PS4 because otherwise I'm going to be waiting like 3 or 4 days. And I would like to get to the next playthrough because I'm like, in terms of main story quest, I'm at the last part. It has shown me the message. If you cross this barrier, you can't go back, basically.
Yeah.
So for Pat, I'm at the Shadow Lord's place. I got the key all set up and stuff like that. So I assume that's basically the end.
Castlevania, Lords of Shadow.
Sorry, say again. This is your first playthrough.
Yes, this would be the A playthrough. Okay. And I could potentially. Okay, so again, I'm doing 100% completion, so no one has to do this. I'm just not sure what comes between playthrough 1 and 2. Like, I don't know if you retain any inventory. I don't know if.
I don't actually remember how much of that stuff carries over, to be honest with you. I wish I could tell you, but
I haven't looked it up because I've been trying to stay spoiler free throughout.
I will say I don't think you should look it up based on what I do remember about things that happen in between the playthroughs. I would let it.
So the one thing I've heard is that if you don't complete some quests, like on your first playthrough, you just can't complete them.
Yep.
So like you're probably doing the smart thing by completing everything that you come across.
I wonder if you're thinking about parts, because there are definitely things in the first part that you cannot complete if you make it to the second part.
What I saw was on subsequent playthroughs, certain quests are no longer completable.
Cool.
Yeah, that's true, and I don't think it. If I recall. I need to play this game again later this year with this Replicant thing. But if I recall, it's not in every instance that the quest isn't available. It's that sometimes on subsequent playthroughs, you just cannot get the item that you need to complete it.
Which is exactly why I'm like, I wonder if any inventory follows through, because mine is purely about crops. It's about growing the flowers and having the seeds.
I don't think any of that stuff carries over. I could be mistaken though. So
it'll be a while before I'm on the second playthrough, unless there's a way to time travel.
I think if it becomes a source of anxiety, I believe you could look up something like, do items transfer between routes, and it wouldn't spoil anything. I don't mean
you could have Pat. You could have Pat look it up.
Oh, I could just look it up for you too. Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, no, to the game itself, and not talking about planting flowers and things of that nature, it's really good. I can totally understand, Pat, why you say you might prefer its story over Nier Automata, because I think Nier Replicant and Gestalt by extension, it's really about the characters, and it's about like humanity in a lot of ways, because you're going through these villages and they're full of people, like people that you can talk with. They're living people, and you don't get that in Automata. In Automata, it's robots, and you get like the tiny village of people right at the very start. But other than that, you're interacting with 2B and or 9S, maybe A2, and then that's kind of it for the most part. Like you get Pascal in there for a lot of it, but like that one's more about like the analysis of a world after humanity's basically gone, whereas this one is more about humanity while it's still there. So I can understand why one would prefer that over the
Oh,
other.
and you framing all of this, I won't ever promise no spoilers. You framing all of this the way that you are, I am so excited for you to get to Route B and see like the like, oh, holy fuck moment of the sort of the ways in which they slowly peel back the skin on what is going on is so good in that game. It's so interesting. Yeah. So and I think the more I think about it, the more, because I have a friend who's been asking me a bunch of questions about Automata because he won't just play it. But it's been making me think more about like the parallels and rhymes between the first Nier and Automata, and it's just such a cool setting. And like I hope that when they make another Nier, and I'm pretty sure they will, it's set another like 4,000 years in the future after Automata, so we can see what like cruft from that world influences another super nihilistic, depressing story. Because it's just, it's good.
This game very much, like, I would say every boss battle and every like main story questy kind of thing has a lot of weight to it. Like, I'm not going to say what happens, like, but the thing that happens at the Airy, the village that's like built into the mountains.
It's a very cool fight.
And the outcome and like what it does to the world is pretty crazy.
It was that fight was fun to do, in my opinion, in the original game. So I can only imagine it's really cool with better combat.
Yeah. Andre, sorry, you were going to say something.
Oh, I have Googled this for you. Below is a list of elements that you can transfer onto your next file. Nier's level, Nier's stats, items, gold, all weapons, progress for Act 1.
Oh, there you go.
Players skip to Act 2 instantly.
Oh, that skip is new, I think.
If the items come through, then I should be okay, because all I need are the seeds.
That I'm glad that you read that off, because that makes me way more likely to play it sooner, because I don't think you could skip Act 1 in the original release, and that's not a spoiler if to know that you can in the subsequent playthroughs, because there's it makes sense that they would let you skip it, and you could not do that in the original Nier. So you had to play Act 1, I want to say 4 times, which Act 1 is like changing. 6 hours long. Or more if you do side quests.
But
so it's like Returnal.
Nier is closer to Returnal than Nier Automata. The original Nier is closer to Returnal than Nier Automata in terms of it's structure of how you do the subsequent playthroughs.
Well, you're still in Act 1 of Returnal, so
it's not a spoiler to say that the kind of like in Automata, it's clear that Yoko Taro looked at the concept of replaying the game to get all these different endings, which is clearly I would assume he was inspired by visual novels in the way that they do that. But in Automata, it's a much more refined approach to that narratively, whereas in the original Nier, it's a little more like, wait, so I just have to play the game again? But things change that are really fascinating too. So
with the original Nier, did it, like, because Nier Automata had that like message from Square Enix PR that showed up at the end being like, hey, maybe you should play the game again. Did the original have anything like that? Or was it just kind of like, okay?
No, it does for sure. But what was surprising to me, again, without spoiling anything, what was surprising to me when I played Nier Automata is when I hit new game again, I was like, oh, this is super different. This is like, this
clearly different.
Nier Automata does not feel like you're playing the game over and over again. It just feels like you are you're hitting next chapter, kind of, like things happen simultaneously in the narrative with with the first route, and there's perspective shifts and stuff, but Automata never felt to me like you're literally replaying the game. The original Nier, you do literally replay the game. There's additional narrative context that is incredibly interesting that makes you want to see the story again, but it is still largely the events for some of it.
Sure.
So
But yeah, I think it's really good. I don't know. I hope to be done with it this week, but who knows? I don't know how long those subsequent playthroughs will take, and I don't know if I'll get my 100%. So, ideally,
I think I will get that game on PlayStation 5 and maybe platinum it because
Yeah. I heard that PC port is like iffy.
yeah, I want to.
yeah.
I played Automata on PC, and I want to just play them both on PS5 and get the trophies because everyone talking about the original Nier has made me realize that I think it might be my favorite game of that kind, that like action RPG. You know, I would put it in the same genre as stuff like Kingdom Hearts, and that I think it's probably my favorite. And that is
big words.
That is with full saying that the original was really, really janky to play. And so the fact that
Kingdom Hearts 2,
the fact that I would say Kingdom Hearts plays way better than the original Nier. Like no Kingdom Hearts game plays as rough as the original release of Nier.
Wow. That is saying something.
Okay, I haven't played the rhythm game. I hear that game is trash.
God, it's so
I'm
bad.
not including the rhythm game in this assessment.
People, please stop making bad rhythm games.
Yeah,
just in general.
Square in particular, please stop making bad rhythm
like
games.
the Hatsune Miku and the Persona games are bad rhythm games. Like, I'm just gonna say
pretty
it.
Cool.
Yeah, it's fine. Anyway, yeah, Nier is outstanding, and you should play it if you have any interest in video games. Is actually I think everyone should play that game.
I'm hoping it'll go on sale, but also my finances are just fucked.
Oh,
right
sure.
now,
And I think if you played Automata and specifically didn't connect with it or didn't enjoy it, it's certainly reasonable to wait for a sale on Replicant because I like the original Nier more than Automata, but I also think I also am someone who really loves both of them. So, you know, I can't tell you it's fine. If you didn't like Automata, Nier's going to get you because I think they're similar in many ways. So
I think for me the thing about Automata was just like that kind of story doesn't necessarily hit for me, like AI and sentience and humanity, that stuff. I'm like but like knowing that like Nier is more about like people, or at least partially more about like humanity like in its current it's like humanity exists as opposed to humanity's gone. What does that mean for humanity?
It's also
is more interesting to me.
What I think, and I'll stop hogging the mic. I don't mean to, it's your game, Alex, that you brought, so I don't mean to
all good.
Run my mouth, but Replicant or Automata is very on the nose about being about sentience and AI and all that stuff. And there are deeper themes that run through it, but it is so aggressive in its what is humanity kind of a theme plot, whatever, that it's whereas Nier, the original Nier, is much more esoteric in what it's trying to talk about and say. Its philosophy is a lot more ephemeral, I guess. And it is asking questions about humanity and sentience, but not in the same context as what Automata is doing. And it's asking questions about what a soul is and what a cognizance is and stuff. It's very heady, but it's also a story that you can kind of just go oh, and also this has rad visuals and it's really interesting spaces and people. And Automata doesn't, in my opinion, have the environments are pretty bland and the enemies are very samey the whole way through. So it doesn't have the same degree of of unique spaces and just an interesting kind of world to move through from a visual and aesthetic perspective, I guess.
Yeah. And one difference that I would say, and especially because you're interacting with actual people and humans and stuff like that, is Nier Replicant, there's a lot of side quests where you'll be doing them, and then the ending of the side quest is kind of a personal choice where you have to be like, okay, this really you've just got this really terrible piece of news. Do you tell the person this news? Like, do you tell them this is what happened, or do you lie to them so they live their life happily, kind of stuff? And like those actually have consequences for those characters. And like there's one where this guy had a girlfriend, and then they kind of drifted apart, but they still cared about each other. And then like 5 years later, the guy got married and has kids now and stuff. But you find out that like 4 years before, like a year after they broke up, she was killed by one of the Shades, which is one of the like the bad guys. And he never knew. And he's happily living his life over here. And she's like, oh, she just hasn't written because she's been busy. And you find out she's been murdered, and it's your choice as the player to say, like, do you tell him that, yeah, she's dead? Or do you just let him live his life happily with his family? And it makes you think about that choice.
And what I love about the way it deploys those choices is there is no Mass Effect style. There's anything wrong with Mass Effect. There is no Mass Effect style like gauge that you're making the choice because like,
You're
oh, this is going to give you run. No.
Oh,
like,
yeah, no.
That choice has narrative implications for that character, but it does not affect the overall plot. Oh, and yeah. It is just a moment for you to reflect on that micro story. And there is no like, you don't need to look at as far as I remember, you don't need to look at a guide for side quest choices to get all the endings. That stuff is not tied to that. So I think it's cool the way it deploys those decisions.
Yeah, it's really good. I would say the experience so far has been really pretty much wholly positive. The only negative I would say is that the side quest design is not very good.
It's
fetch quests. It's go collect 20 of these, go collect 10 of these, and it's like, and for me that's not the most fun. But I've kind of just been able to put on a podcast and just kind of blindly just kind of do the stuff until I get the stuff and then continue the story.
I had such a weird. I think I watched like Giant Bomb streams and stuff while I did that, but I had such a fucking weird experience of playing that game because I played it in like 2016, early 2016. And that was like a year and a half or so before I met everyone here, and about a year and a half ish before I met my current partner. And like 2016, not to get too personal, but 2016 for me was like the year where I was like, my life is not working, and nothing about me is what I want it to be. So like I did a lot of like personal growth and soul searching that year. And I played Nier on a PS3 in my basement in the dark for like, I did nothing but play that game for like a month outside.
You may not like it, but this is what peak performance looks like.
Well, yeah, it was so weird. I would like get a pizza and a tall boy of like Bud Light, and then descend into the basement. Yeah, and descend into the basement. And I think I would put on like a stream or something. But my point is that I was like very isolated while I played that game. It was very much like a self-isolation thing. And I had my friend who won't play Automata. He's the one who got me to play the original Nier. We talked about the game. I wasn't like I was antisocial during that period, but it was just a weird way to experience that game that is kind of nihilistic and dark, to do it alone in a dark basement, eating pizza and drinking like shitty beer. It was a weird time. Never really to excess or anything. I wasn't like, I was drinking one tall boy of Bud Light, but yeah, it's a weird time.
And I'll say, while this game is certainly nihilistic, like I don't think there's any ifs, ands, or buts about it. Another thing, like if you did not like how Nier Automata was just constantly a downer, like there was never any real positive moments in that game, really, even with the side quests. This one actually has like happy endings to some of the side quests, like which is the fun balance of like, oh, I don't know if this quest is going to be like, oh, these people are happy now and things are good, even though they're arguing, they're happy and healthy, yay. Or if it's going to be, oh, everybody's fucking unhappy and this is the worst thing ever. Like
nobody liked that.
Exactly. So it's I think being in that kind of period of your life is also something that would be interesting with this, because you're like,
Oh,
I don't know what to
yeah.
expect.
I think it was helpful for me really to play it in that time and in that way for sure. It certainly shaped my desire to talk about video games more seriously. That's for sure. I think the other thing that is no people will disagree with me. I know there's like major 2B stands out there, but I don't think Nier Automata really has any likable characters. I think it has interesting characters, and I don't like hate characters in that game or anything, but none of the characters to me are not. I think part of the point is like these characters are pretty lifeless in some ways, you know, like they don't have a ton of personality, I guess. Their personality is more in their visual design than their like performance, I guess, but it seems very intentional. What I will say is Nier, the original Nier, the characters are like, it's like a group of friends that are when facing the world down. Your party is really expressive.
Yeah, when you get the full crew, they're great. Like every one of them and all their interactions, like they're so good. Kaine is an all-time great, and Emil. So I don't think this is a spoiler, but I guess headphones off for people who don't want even the most minor of spoilers. There's a scene where you're talking with Emil and you're at a wedding, and you have a conversation with him, and he's like, man, I can't wait to get married. Everybody here looks so happy. Like, I'm so jealous of the bride and stuff. And Nier, your character is just like, oh, don't you mean you're jealous of like the husband? And he's like, no, I mean of the bride. And it's like this really subtle way of showing like, hey, by the way, Emil's gay. Like it does not beat you over the head with these facts, but it does it in really subtle ways, and it just does a lot to personify these characters in just really cool ways. Like I love it.
And I think Taro has spoken in the past about how the game is not. He's very hands off with like. The impression that I get is like he's not trying to tell you necessarily the only answer here is that Emil is gay. In a moment like that, it's more like Emil is certainly queer on some level, and it's kind of up to you as to how you interpret that conversation, and there's no wrong answer to that.
Totally.
And I think that's cool that he's been able to. Usually I find that stance really frustrating when creators are like, oh, I want to leave it up to the interpretation of the player. Yoko Taro is one of the only people who does that I'm like, no, actually this works because you make such interesting works that it feels like. I don't like it when it's like a lot of like RPGs of the past. You'll get those questions, those arguments about like, well, I think this happened, and the creator won't comment on it. And I think it's because the creator doesn't care or doesn't know. But Taro to me seems very much like he's doing it genuinely from a place of wanting people to put their interpretations into the work and come to their own understanding about things, which is cool.
Yeah. And I guess my last thought, so we don't have to talk about it for forever, is Yoko Taro seems like he wants to take narratives in games seriously, and like he wants people to actually have conversations about them and, you know, see them for the potential depth they could have rather than just being a vector for power fantasy. And I think that's ultimately what Nier does best, and I think Nier Replicant is that at its best. So I would like, even though I haven't finished the first playthrough and I have kind of a general idea of where things go, I think I can pretty wholeheartedly recommend it for anyone who's interested.
All right.
I agree.
Would you recommend perhaps tax evasion?
So it's funny. It's funny you say that. I forgot I even had that on the list, and it's funny because I forgot to add it to the list last week.
Moving on.
Sounds like that game's fine, but just fine.
So we're talking about a little game called Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion. And if It was kind of making its way around the internet sphere, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, because it's cute and it's kind of quirky and it's got meme humor.
The internet's
and...
shaped like a penis, not a sphere. Let's be honest.
Wait, what are you trying to say about penises and their shape?
It's like like a cylinder, like a rounded cylinder.
I gotta go.
Hoping that's where it was going. So yes, Turnip Boy commits tax evasion. It is a very cutesy art style. It's very much like a top-down RPG kind of thing, like think original Zelda, but more, I don't know, you could say it's somewhere between original Zelda and something like a Nuclear Throne, depending how you want to think of it, because the gameplay is more like running around and hitting shit, and like there's some challenge to it. There's like almost like pseudo bullet helly kind of sections, but not exactly. So that's the gameplay, but you're there mainly for the narrative in this game and the personality and like the quirky banter between characters. And Pat, you look like you really want to say something.
A lot of bullet hells this year that people, a lot of between Turnip Boy commits tax evasion and Returnal and Nier, there's a lot of bullet hell going on.
Hey, love it. You should play that Toho game I played last year.
I will not.
It's really good.
I played a little bit and I went,
Yeah, I think it's excellent. But Turnip Boy commits tax evasion. It's fine. I think for some people it's going to hit better for them than it did for me. I know Allison also fell off of it pretty hard. Like I think she played like an hour or two and just didn't really continue. Like the thing for me that that didn't work for me was a lot of the humor, actually. Like while it was well written and it was clever, sometimes it was just extremely memey, like to the point of kind of being just annoying. So like there's a part where you encounter someone who sells subs, like submarines, the sandwiches like you would get at Subway. And he's like, oh, we have tier 1 subs and tier 2 and tier 3 subs. And then you meet this other character who's a streamer, basically, like a Twitch streamer. And they're like, oh, I'll do this for you if you give me a tier 3 sub. And it's just like, yeah, I get it. It's a Twitch reference. Very clever. And it's a lot of that. It's just very on the nose. It's very referential. And just, I wasn't a fan of it, though I will say, the last act, the last, I don't know, half an hour, 45 minutes of it is pretty good. It's pretty interesting, and it takes it in a place that you wouldn't expect when you're going in. I don't think I need to spoil it here. I don't think that does anything for anyone.
sure.
But I will say the last part of it is pretty good.
All right.
So
Well,
that's all we need to say about that.
okay. Well, I wish I had more to say about the game I brought this week. I didn't have much time to play it because I've been so excited for it. Everybody knows Resident Evil Village.
Hell yeah.
I've been waiting so long for it, and then I've only had like an hour to play it.
That's about how much I played.
Yeah. I wanted to play more, just it wasn't in the cards. But oh yeah.
I want to figure out where you are without spoiling it for other people.
I am past the demo, the village demo.
I didn't play through the demo.
And then, okay, so the village demo is like Louisa's house, and then you put the maiden and the demon head in the door.
Yep. Okay.
And then
I love that that's not a spoiler in a Resident Evil game at all.
Yeah. And then I did like the sequence after that.
So you probably got to you got to a save room ass save room.
Yes.
I guess. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So I think we're in the exact same spot.
Probably. Yes.
Yeah.
And this section was also in the demo, in the castle demo. Sure. So that's where it is. Like,
yeah.
But it seems like it's like earlier than the castle demo was set.
Yes.
But I'm not sure how.
We're, I think, literally in the same location. Cool.
Yeah. So, this game is. So I saw a quote earlier this week from like the director saying they used feedback from Resident Evil 7 and went, "Oh, we're gonna make Resident Evil Village less spooky," which
unfortunate.
is like, IMO. Yeah. like the early goings of Resident Evil 7 are just like
so good,
heart pounding and
yeah.
stressful.
I haven't talked about it on the cast, but I played Resident Evil 7 last week, and
really
holy shit, that game is fantastic. It's retroactively. I forget what year it came out, but
2016.
It was the year before we did the Game of the Year podcast, I think, because
so.
I don't think it came. That probably is my retroactive Game of the Year for that year, because holy shit, it's good.
I don't think it was 2017. I think it was 2016.
I don't remember talking about it on a Game of the Year podcast ever. So
it might have been 2016. No, I think it was 2017. I'm pretty sure we did. Yeah, I was gonna say I'm pretty sure we talked about it on our cast, but I think I was the only one who played it.
No, I played it. I definitely played it, and maybe I fucked up. Maybe I made a mistake.
I don't know. I remember saying it was good. It's a good game, but I didn't think enough of it.
It's not as good as Nier Automata in my book, so for me really anyway. But so it would not have been my Game of the Year, is what I'm saying. But it would have been close because it's the game anyway.
That game's hella good.
It does really cool stuff.
So this game is the follow-up, and everybody loves Lady Dimitrescu. And
Lady D.
This game starts off, it's like 3 years after the events of Resident Evil 7. Ethan and Mia have been recruited by the Umbrella PMC and Chris Redfield they've like undergone military training and are living in some undisclosed location in Europe.
By the way, spoilers for the end of 7, I guess.
Hey, this has been on all the marketing.
Yeah, I know. Honestly, 7's, you can tell the arc of. The surprising thing is that Mia lives. To me, that was the only surprising thing about the ending of 7. Otherwise, that game has a pretty predictable macro plot, but it's still so good in execution that's fine.
Like the thing, like at the time, it was so different and such a departure from the previous game. So it was like, is this like a reboot? And like it kind of is, but it's also like,
and it was such a departure from horror games. Like there was nothing. It took elements of a bunch of different kinds of horror games and combined them in a way that there still hasn't really been anything like it, other than Village, kind of. But Village is in this weird spot because it's borrowing from like Resident Evil 4 in some really interesting ways. They're like really overt, like apart from the setting. But so the setup is Ethan and Mia it's like 3 years later, they're in Europe. They've been recruited by Umbrella PMC. They have a baby. I would say if you're going to play this game, just skip ahead, because we'll probably talk about what happens at the beginning of the game, and it's like the first 10 minutes of the game. But I didn't know
the trailer.
But I didn't watch the trailers, so I didn't know what was going to happen, and it blew my fucking mind. So if you haven't watched any trailers, I think we should talk about it. But
so I guess we'll put in a spoiler marker here. I guess. They're doing their home life. If you look around the house, you get like the feeling that like something's off with like maybe Ethan or maybe with Mia, but like they don't want to talk about something. And then your Mia is just lit the fuck up. Just like from outside the house, gunshots, just brap, brap, brap.
Just riddled with bullets.
It's like excessive.
Yes.
Turns out, who is it? It's your boy, Chris fucking Redfield, and comes in and he's like, oh, she's still alive. Brah, brah.
Yeah, he drills her in the head a few times.
God.
And
then he's like, fuck you, like knocks you out. Then they're like leading you out. They take your baby, and then they knock you out again, and then you wake up like in a ditch with like a car overturned and shit. And you're like making your way through like Eastern European countryside in the middle of winter through the snow, and you stumble across this village.
Spooky noises all around you.
Yeah, oh yeah. Well, you seeing things running through.
At that point, though, it's so less scary than the beginning of 7. Like, I was just like, whatever. Maybe
it's like trying a little too hard.
It's very similar to the very beginning of 7, where you're running through a wooded area. But in this case, you're like, things are fucked up, I gotta move. Whereas in 7, it's so much more like things have not yet begun to fuck up. So it's kind of
tension.
7 has that incredible moment where you're like walking and things are weird and spooky, but then you find like a dead animal and you're like, ugh, and then you turn around and there's the like display made the wall made out of horse parts, and that moment was just like, oh, I'm in for some shit here. Clearly, like this game is not going to fucking hold back, and it just gets better from there. Whereas Village, I very much was like, I'm running in the dark from werewolves. Like I know what I'm doing right now, and it's not that scary.
Yeah.
It's tension versus panic.
Yeah. They very early, like they're just like, and things are real spooky right now. Like, whoa, aren't you scared? And as opposed to like just letting it build up. Yeah, it's like, I think if you're not used to like horror stuff, it probably still be like stressful, but it was very much just like, okay, I'm gonna get through here. But you know, I'm a veteran of these games now. I've played a lot of Resident Evil, so it's like, okay, I know what's going on. I'm in no imminent danger, but like then like once you start getting things going, like you get into the village and then they're like, okay, we're going, and it becomes like basically like the end of Resident Evil 7 or like late game Resident Evil 4. It's kind of a recreation of like
really action heavy, you mean?
Then like here's just like an endless horde of enemies,
and you don't have a lot of resources. I think it's actually a pretty well executed thing, because I was panicked for sure. I wasn't scared, but I was like, I felt bad for my partner because I think maybe she was sleeping. I don't know, but I was like, what the fuck, like just yelling that over and over and over again, because I was like, what the fuck am I supposed to do? Because I was out of ammo so fast, and there's just this stream of enemies, and I think that actually is a really good.
Well,
moment.
It's also very reminiscent of Resident Evil 4, like the early scene where you first encounter like the chainsaw guys.
Oh, sure.
It is like that's it is like that scene.
What I remember,
this is the first like 15 minutes of the game, so it's not like too spoilery, but
what I remember about Resident Evil 4 is I felt like I definitely was like, what the fuck, but I also felt like I was supposed to figure, like, it didn't feel quite as hopeless to me. It felt like I could run somewhere or something.
You're on a mission from the president. You're Leon S. Kennedy, and you're there to save the president's daughter. You got a handle on things.
It felt like playing through the sequence in Village was very much like, holy fuck, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I don't know where I'm supposed to go. I don't know how I'm going to deal with this. And I don't want to spoil it, but like, just, it's interesting.
Like, so if like Leon Kennedy is like John Wick, Ethan Winters is like Mr. fucking Magoo.
Well, I was gonna say he's like Paul Blart Mall Cop. He's just a fucking idiot. That's the thing about 7. In 7, I was willing to forgive it because he was in like an ultra fucked up situation, and anyone
he's just
would.
He's just like some dude, and then he's like, "We're gonna, you get your hand cut off, and then we're gonna staple it back on." And it's like, "Why does my hand work?" And stuff like that.
It was certainly in 7 much more like, okay, I can hang with this guy because he's going through some shit. Whereas in Village, I'm like, you've done this. Like, there's one moment where he goes, why the fuck is this happening again? And that moment was really good. And I was like, okay, I bought that and I'm with you, buddy. But the rest of the time, he's just a dipshit. I'm just like, my guy.
But I've heard it just I haven't played it. I think I will, but not right away. I'm probably going to wait for it to be on sale. But I've heard they really just are kind of excessive with how much they fuck Ethan up over the course of the game, just constantly.
It's real good.
He like early on, like minor spoiler, but like there's like some gross like mutilation. Like a werewolf like lichened thing just bites his like hand and takes off like a third of it.
Yeah,
just, and it's like missing fingers,
and it's like bone sticking out of one finger, one finger totally gone.
Brutal.
It's good.
My friend was saying basically he just pours some potion on it and it grows back and he's fine.
No, it does not grow back.
No. He bandages it up like it's gone.
But he does just pour the alcohol on it.
maybe it'll come back. I don't know.
I don't know. There's also
I saw one like screenshot of a thing that someone was talking about how like so you know how with like DMC or Devil May Cry they like did the like live storyboarding stuff and they're like, oh, we're gonna make all our scenes with like toys or like we're gonna really do it in that like for visualization. So they do the same thing with like so for Resident Evil they did a similar thing. They just like they storyboarded with like and just took pictures of like the people in the office to like, you know, in the poses, and then like, oh yeah, they even did it for this scene, and it was a weird scene with Lady Dimitrescu, and I was like, oh, I wonder what's going on here. But
it definitely like once you get past that initial, and I assume there's a bit of back and forth between the village and the castle.
Because I mean there's like a 4 lords type thing, so I think there's going to be more than just the castle.
That's what's exciting to me is I feel like I know what the plot of this game is going to be at this point already. It seems like it's going to be pretty similar to the first one in a lot of ways, but what's interesting is that they're setting this up for 4 pretty different potentially different aesthetic and like mechanical spaces, which sounds really fun, I think. And like the mechanical additions to this game, like you have your weapons can be leveled up like in Resident Evil 4. You can buy upgrades. You're picking up like treasures to sell for money to buy upgrades,
like in Resident Evil 4.
All that stuff is straight from Resident Evil 4. So
inventory is Resident Evil 4.
But what they did do is your crafting materials don't sit in your inventory now, at least. They're in a separate tab.
Much better.
But yeah, it has some interesting mechanical stuff going on that's a little bit upgraded. I don't think that the atmosphere is quite as oppressive and like engaging as it is in 7, but I still think it's fun. This game is a lot more like just like goofy, I guess. The enemy, the 4 characters that are sort of like the 4 lords, I mean, you've seen Lady Dimitrescu, like they're all larger than life characters like that and really weird. Like really weird.
You've got one who's like almost a Bloodborne hunter like type thing going on.
So is it almost like campy in a way?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Cool. But that's not fine. All the way to.
It's not Evil Dead
or Resident Evil 1 even. It's not even like it's not that campy. It still feels, it reminds me of like tonally, I think it's higher quality, but it almost reminds me tonally of like that Van Helsing movie.
Sure.
Where it's like we know it's campy, but the characters don't know that they're being campy, which I really enjoy that tone when it's done well. It's not done particularly well in the Van Helsing movie, but it's done pretty well here so far.
Well, so far, at least one thing I'm appreciating is that it is like distinct from 7.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going in like, oh yeah, no, this is just 7 again. Like there's room to be surprised because 7 was a departure from the Resident Evil formula that had come from like 4, 5, 6, you know, mostly 5 and 6 was like a similar thing. And like they were an evolution of 4, and then 7 did its own thing. And now 8, while it's still in that same like mechanical space, what's happening feels like I don't know what could what could happen here with like there's werewolves, there's giant vampire ladies, there's a bunch of other stuff that like is not entirely clear but still looks pretty cool and is very different from anything that I've seen in Resident Evil before.
I also like that I think this is highly effective in 7, but 7 feels like a constrained space no matter where you are in it. It doesn't feel like
there's a lot of like claustrophobic spaces.
And
totally.
It's claustrophobic, and then even in terms of like the wider like the mansion itself is big by real life standards, but it doesn't feel like the original Resident Evil 1 mansion feels really expansive. Like there's tons.
I mean, this is just like a big like house in like Louisiana Bayou. It's not like a mansion. It's just a big house.
So my point being, Resident Evil 8 feels like it has the potential to be a much more intricate, larger space. And I think that's a cool departure for what Resident Evil 7 is doing. I'm not saying I wish that it had been a more intricate space. The claustrophobic nature of it is important to what they're doing. There's like a great moment in Resident Evil 7 where you have to go back to the manor house. And I was like, one of these times that I come in there's going to be fucking molded everywhere. And then sure enough, you walk in and like 3 of them wake up, and I'm like, motherfucker, I don't want to deal with this in this area. And that's super effective. And I feel like Resident Evil 8, I guess, is a little less stressful because I already have a shotgun and a pistol, like where I am now. And I'm like, okay, if a fucking like vampire lady shows up in one of these rooms, I'm just going to blow her away with shotgun. And obviously there's going to be enemies. Yes, there will be enemies you cannot do that with. But yeah, I guess what I'm saying is I feel more equipped to just kind of like explore the space, which is something I never really felt comfortable with in 7, even though you have to do it.
Yes, that's it. It definitely seems like 4, where they want you to feel equipped to explore the space and go around, and you're going to be fighting a lot, but it's not going to be like, oh god, I'm out of ammo, and because you could buy ammo, and
and
obviously there's a limited amount of like resource, but you can like kind of farm that from some enemies.
I should say, I think that stepping back, if 8 progresses in the way that I suspect it will mechanically in that way, I think 7's probably a more I think I'm going to come away from this game thinking 7's better, but also 8's village seems good. It seems really good, and it's a nice like change of it's good that they switched it up, because I think if they had just done 7 again but in a European village, I don't know that it would have worked. So I'm still excited about it.
Just changing the location wouldn't be enough. Maybe, it would have been fine and good, but it would have been okay that we're doing this again. But because they've changed so much, it feels like there's a little bit of like, I don't know exactly what's going to happen, and there's room to be surprised.
I also think that they're inching closer to being just on the, I'm not saying I predict they'll do it, just saying they're inching closer to the last game in this trilogy just being like Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, but in Resident Evil, because
space
there's like light RPG elements with weapon upgrades in this game, and it seems like they're not that far from just being able to create like a more immersive sim style location, which would be kind of neat. I don't know.
It's gonna be co-op, and there's going to be 3 different stories you play through. You play as the son of Wesker and Sherry Birkin and Leon S. Kennedy and Chris and Ethan. And then
when you die, you turn into the enemies.
Yes. Reverse, not out yet.
And not out until like July or something. It got like blown back in release date.
Does Jake show up in any of these games? I don't even remember.
Not,
Jake being Wesker's son.
Yeah,
not
he was only in 6. Only in 6.
Okay.
As far maybe he's shown up in like Umbrella Corps or something.
They make references to Wesker though in 7, and
probably it's been a while since I looked at it, but
the only reference is the gun. The gun is a reference to Wesker, but it does say his name. It's like in the item description, it's like, oh, the gun, Albert Wesker's signature design brought forward into the next generation or whatever. I don't remember.
No, that's just fun for people who know the games, but
sure. But
maybe it's not like Destiny where they're like the lore is in the weapons.
Well, I don't know. It's called, the weapon is called like the Albert 001.
Yeah. Maybe this game actually takes place after 6.
What I suspect is that Leon will show up in this game at some point.
That would be pretty cool. And then he's like, I got to save the president's daughter. And then he saves your baby. And you're like, what? And they're like, you're the president. And then that's the nice game.
Pure speculation. I know nothing.
I know
nothing about the plot of Resident Evil 7, but what I suspect is...
You mean 8?
Or 8. Yeah, I know everything about the plot of Resident Evil 7. But what I suspect is that Chris Redfield is actually kind of a bad guy now, and that Leon's going to show up and be like, this guy's fucking bad news. Let's get out of here. Join my like
the
Resident
cover
Evil
art
resistance.
Is half Chris, half werewolf.
Yeah.
So like it seems like he's some bad news, or or he like something bad is going on.
Oh,
with
maybe
Ethan.
something bad is going on for him, but either way, I think he's a bad guy in this game.
Like,
and I think Leon's going to show up and gonna at the end. It's going to be at the end again, and it'll be like you join Leon's group of ragtag fighters, and I bet there will be other characters from the past in there.
And then
it's got to be Claire Redfield. It's got to be another Redfield.
Yes, I think it'll be Claire will be in that group, and I bet in the
Claire has to show up. Claire has to show up.
The last game in this trilogy. Yeah.
And then you'll play through the game a second time as Ada Wong, looking at everything from a different perspective.
I'd be down for that.
But yeah, I am excited to play more when I get the chance. And like, these games are like 10 hours ish. So
yeah, I think that they're breezy enough. I think I'll probably gun through Resident Evil 2 remake after I play 8.
We should get into speed running and just compete against each other.
And I understand why people speed run these games after playing 7, because I was like, holy shit, the sequence breaking you could be doing to like not in 7's sorry, not in the main plot. It's in that Chris DLC. In that Chris DLC, you could do some crazy ass sequence breaks that would be really wild and hard as fuck to pull off. But 7, you could kind of, I don't know, the boat section.
It's not got much sequence breaking stuff. It's mostly just like execution and like.
Well, and I've heard it's interesting because the enemies are really unpredictable. So
yes, but like also depends on the difficulty you play and all that stuff. But yeah, I love Resident Evil speedruns. They're my favorite.
I gotta watch that RE7 one that I've seen circulate. That's like
I will. I can probably send you it.
That'd be good. I meant to watch it this week and it got away from me, but
I think it's the carcinogen one where that one's just the most impressive because it's like the highest difficulty and they like randomize item placement.
Yeah. So, I can't imagine playing that game on a higher difficulty though.
I mean, once you know like what to expect, then it's like, okay, no,
I guess.
The first time through, I'm always
certain parts of it would be rough. Higher difficulty.
I played Resident Evil 3 remake on like the highest difficulty. It was just near impossible because like how much damage you take, and with like Nemesis chasing you around, like the final boss was like, if I got hit once, it was over. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Even knowing what to do is like, ugh.
I'm kind of bummed I didn't buy more of the games in the recent Capcom sale because I kind of would like to. They're so quick to get through. But feel like there's enough there to come back to that I would like to just say, this weekend I'm going to play Resident Evil 3 remake. When I didn't have internet for 2 months when I first moved into my apartment, I played Resident Evil 2 so much, just so much.
Sorry to interrupt, and I've been our chat has been pretty active this recording.
Oh, okay.
But in regards to your final fight in Resident Evil 3. With the boss that would just kill you. One stranger piece from the chat says, did you see stars, Andre?
Because you got punched so hard. And also because that's the name of the thing.
Stars. I guess I did because Jill Valentine is a member of Stars.
All right.
So
this is my prediction. End of Resident Evil Village, you had a big fight with Chris and you get fucked up and Ethan's like on the edge and then like a boat pulls up. It won't be a helicopter again because I did that in 7.
And it's Ada Wong on the boat.
No, it's Leon and Claire in the boat. They pull you on the boat and they say like, we got to get you out of here. And then as the boat pulls away, it has like a faded Stars logo on it.
They say, get in, loser, we're going shopping. And then there's
Evil
the merchant on the back and he goes, what are you buying?
I was a little disappointed that the merchant in Village is not that or closer to that.
That would be weird.
It would be, I know, but that's like one of the only things I have nostalgia for in Resident Evil because the only one that I played was 4.
I've got weird feelings about Duke. Like there's something like iffy on his character design.
Oh, his character design is a little offensive for sure.
Like very fat phobic.
It's pretty fat phobic. Yeah, it sucks. The only reason that I didn't bring it up sooner is because Resident Evil is not
the bastion of progressiveness.
No, I think it's there's nothing in this game that I think is like really bad. I mean, I don't want to suggest that fat phobia is like not that bad, but like the character design definitely sucks. He especially like rolls forward whenever you meet him the first time. It's shitty for sure.
It's like, I think you could still do most of his design, but like change a few things and it would become less of an issue.
Yeah, but also it's definitely one of those things that you don't have to interact with him that frequently, and it's for me, I can look at it and go like, that sucks, and then kind of
it's not like in your face aggressive, but it is like, if you think about it, you're like,
and it's not like they're like showing him eating all the time or anything like that. It's but yeah, it's a little, it's not the best for sure.
But besides that, I'm enjoying Resident Evil Village.
There's a sequence where there's another hand trauma sequence that I won't spoil, where like, have you encountered Lady Dimitrescu yet?
Not yet.
Oh, okay, so I'm like a tiny bit past where you are. It's real good.
I mean, like I've seen her, but not in the castle.
Okay. Yes. Right.
I did like the escape sequence thing, and then
Gotcha. Yes. Yeah. No. I'm a little bit. I'm like I'm like 10-15 minutes past that.
Yeah.
It's not a spoiler to say that you run into her pretty quick once you're moving around that castle sequence, and that opening. So I think that might be the picture, the screenshot I saw. Oh,
maybe. That might be the thing that I referenced. Like they did they made like a real life, like
there's like a
storyboard shot of that.
There's like a 5-minute basically cutscene sequence that's going to happen very soon after where you are. That is really good. It's definitely uncomfortable if you have issues with limb trauma, but it's good. It's like, it's clearly their version of the dinner scene, but not necessarily that it's exactly the same textually, but it's clearly serving that purpose from a narrative and gameplay perspective.
The dinner scene was so good.
And it's not quite as good as a dinner scene, but it's good.
I mean, that one guy was like, take him into the castle, chop off his dick, blah, blah.
I know. Yes.
Well, you're going to do what?
Yes. They literally say like, chop off his dick. And I was like, are you what?
I mean, damn.
Yeah. The people in the village. Interesting characters.
I'm curious to see where this goes. But
it's also good when you get to Louisa's house. I was like, again, light spoilers for the first like 30 minutes of the game. But when I got to Louisa's house, I was like, oh, okay, so this is going to be like the hub. We're going to be exploring the village for like an hour or two here and stuff. And then stuff happens and you're just like, oh, fuck. Okay. Well, I guess we're done here. And it's very good.
I'm pretty sure we're going back, but
yeah. Like, no, I just meant with that specific group of people in that specific.
I was like, oh, we just, we met all these people. This was all in the demo, but we just met all these people.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was very much like, the cast of NPCs that we're going to be spending time with in this game.
Do some side quests, maybe.
Nope. It's good so far. I'm enjoying it.
That's games for this week, and
it's the only games that anyone's been playing and allowed to play anywhere in the world. So
I've been playing more Returnal, but that's still good. I'll come back maybe next week with more thoughts on Resident Evil Village, maybe some Returnal.
I was excited to get to Returnal this week after I finished Resident Evil 7, but then all this, like, it sounds like it's just such a mess right now. I'm not even going to play more of it until they sort it out.
When they reverted a patch, it seemed to have fixed the issue I was having with it, like just freezing and hard crashing, but maybe that'll come back if I spend more time in that level. But
that's the thing. Did you plug in a keyboard?
No, I did not. I did not plug in a keyboard and input cheats the way the game was meant to be played, because it was in the game. That's how
it was designed. Yeah. So
designed that way. So you did nothing wrong if you use cheats to play Returnal.
Yep. And anyone who says otherwise is a whiner.
Filthy animal.
People are out there on Twitter, just unleashing their entire asses onto
absolutely wild. They should be embarrassed. Anyway.
I am embarrassed reading them, and I think their opinions are bullshit, and they're shitty people.
Yeah. Anyway, you know who's not shitty people? Our first news story this week.
Yeah.
It hurts to say, even because like we're here in this podcast because of these people.
Like how my partner and I met. We were talking about in the wake of all this. It's tough.
Yeah. Alex Navarro, Vinny Caravella, and Brad Shoemaker, longtime members of GiantBomb.com.
I think of them as founders, even though they're not all technically.
Like they weren't all there like day and date, but like they built that site. They were like from their GameSpot days and like so formative to making that site. Making the site what it is today, and the last like over a decade, they've left the site as of yesterday. They are no longer, which it sucks. Like I trust in Jeff Gerstmann and what he does next with the site, and like it sounds like they've got the chance. He's got the chance, and him, Jan, and Jason have the opportunity, and like Rory and other people
the way
have
they
the chance to build something new.
The way they talk, it sounds like Jeff Backlar will be pretty heavily involved too, because they talk about they seem to be talking about from a company, and I'm not going to speculate at all on anything about those people's personal or professional lives, but it sounds like Red Ventures looks at GameSpot and Giant Bomb as kind of the games group, and it sounds like Backlar is in a position of pretty high authority now within the games group, and so hopefully he'll have a lot of hand, and he's a really, really, really smart content producer. So I was initially like, fuck this, I'm just done with this site completely. And then in some ways I'm weirdly excited to see what the Jeffs and what the J gang does with
Jeff, Jay. Oh God.
Jeff, Jason, and Jan.
No.
Oh wow.
I didn't even think about that.
That's the real reason that Alex, Vinny, and Brad left.
Because the J's were too strong.
Got to get John Vignacchi back, and then he's got to only go.
JV. Oh boy.
But
John Drake.
Yeah.
Oh
exactly.
my God. We've
bringing all the J's.
They're going to change the G in Giant to a J.
Yep. And Dave Lang is going to change his name to Jave Lang. But no, I'm excited to see what Jeff's going to do next. I think Jeff did a garage stream where he was like cleaning shit in his garage for 2 hours that I watched, and it was a really great cathartic. Like, okay, this sounds like there's a future here that could maybe. My hope is that it
doesn't sound like he's going down with the ship.
No.
Like they're ship of Theseus.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing that Giant Bomb has, the biggest weakness of Giant Bomb over the last, that has become apparent, it's always been a problem, but it's become more apparent over the last few years, is there's such a like lack of diversity in terms of like the perspectives that people are approaching games from. Certainly there was diversity of taste, but like it was a bunch of white guys talking about games with, exceptions from people like Jan and Abby and stuff over the years. But
people have come through,
in Austin. But I mean, the core of that team for so long has been that. So my hope is that this is an opportunity for them to build a more diverse set of experiences and people to maybe be a great place for the future of games too, because I think a lot of places, like, nothing against like people like Rab and other people that work at IGN and Game Informer and stuff. I mean, like Liana Rupert's really cool, and like there's lots of cool people at different places, but I feel like there isn't that, like, no pun intended, like bastion of games media where I go to a place and go like, no, I like everyone here and all of their opinions. Like how Giant Bomb was for a while for me. And I think maybe they could do that again.
Or even if I don't necessarily care for the person, like I at least trust they're on the level, and with
for sure.
Or, you know, I'm not like, oh, this person's wearing a Pip-Boy and streaming, talking about Fallout 4 and how amazing it is.
And like I feel that way about Vice now, but that's like the only place that I have that feeling for. And Giant Bomb. I have felt that way about Giant Bomb too, but
yeah. I mean, I feel like the internet. They talked about this on the Bombcast, the most recent episode, whatever that number was, I forget. The one titled "Brad's Leaving."
Punch. That went live.
That was perfect. However, like they're talking about how the internet is so significantly different now versus when they started, and I think the communities that you're talking about, like when I first started using Giant Bomb in like 2010 or whatever, it was a website you navigated to all the time. It was like, first thing I'm going to do when I wake up today is I'm going to go to giantbomb.com and check out the forums and check out what quick looks have been happening. And you watched all the quick looks there. And then as the years went on, when it came to quick looks, I just watched them on the YouTube channel, and I stopped going to the website as much and stopped interacting with the community as much through their forums. And it's just because that's how the internet changed, is people rarely go to an individual site anymore. Like they go to something that is an amalgamation, or like it kind of accrues stuff from different sites. And like you're getting the filtered best of the best content all the time rather than just everything.
It's a weird market, and I think like part of their whole like changing things up from here, like their plans kind of have to or incorporate that. And you know, like you said, they were talking about it. Jeff is aware of that, and has also talked about how he's happy to have people who don't know what a Genesis is on the site. Like was people talking shit about Abby, like, oh, did you know you hired someone who doesn't know what a Genesis is? He's like, good, I'm glad.
I think that's been the biggest issue for me with why I've listened to less and less Giant Bomb. And this is where I'm sad, and I don't want to say anything, but part of the reason that I'm excited for, I wish that Vinny and Brad and Alex were going to be there for the next chapter of the site. But part of the reason I'm excited for the next chapter of the site is I feel like over the last few years, their opinions have started to stagnate more and more and more. And I don't even need to really listen to a lot of their content to know what Jeff's going to say about like, a game. And that's not very interesting from a listener perspective, even if I have unending respect and admiration for those guys as a team. And like, I think that with the potential for significant new voices coming in, there's a lot of room for like, for more nuanced discussions, I guess, is what it comes down to. Because like
new discussions, and like I always the thing I appreciated most from Giant Bomb was just like the industry insight and like
totally
being able to look like basically news analysis and like, oh, here's what's going on, and like, you know, all that stuff is like really what drew me to them, because I was like, oh, these guys like really know and like their history, and like that's always so fun to hear.
The thing I really appreciated about it, especially again, like in like 2010-ish, when I played a lot of games, but I didn't know much about the humans that made them, is Giant Bomb was the first place I ever encountered that truly humanized developers. Like they would constantly have developers on, be it for quick look EXs that they started doing, or like
to drink a lot of rum and play Sid Meier's Pirates or whatever. Age of Booty, that's what it was.
And like the E3 couches and stuff like that. Like that
like
was
that,
truly
like all-time great content.
Stuff, like that stuff changed my perspective on the games industry. And 100%. Like that is like, and it came from a group of dudes like just that were just buddies and stuck together and wanted to do something new. Like yes, 100% you can levy critique at like the diversity and just things of that nature, but the way it started was truly just, you know, group of dudes that that were doing what they wanted. And
I don't think there was ever
totally admirable.
There was never an intent from anyone on that crew to not have a diverse cast. I think it's just that's how I mean, look, we're a podcast of like mostly white dudes too.
I honestly didn't mean for it to end up that way.
No, of course not.
Andre legitimately thought he thought I was a lady.
I thought Yeah, I did. I thought Alex was like a woman of color, and I was like, "Oh, wait. Oh, okay. You're a Canadian guy. Okay, well that works too." And
That's
happy accident because Alex is a fantastic producer, and the show would not be half the show it is without him.
but I don't think that's. I guess my point is that I don't want to paint it as like I think that anyone on that crew has been trying to gatekeep more diverse hires, but
yeah, just looking back at how it started and just on a personal level, it just had such huge influence on me. And like you were saying, I made tons and tons of friends out of that community. Like life-changing
we wouldn't
relationships.
be here like doing this conversation if not for Giant Bomb.
So nothing but respect.
Just last, any like specific memorable moments or something that like, you know, these people many. Like there are so many, but like Alex Navarro always holds a special place in my heart just for how much he's talked about like mental health and his struggles with it. Like being open about that was I think a very important thing. Depression and all that was just like good on you, man, for like talking about it and being open about it and destigmatizing that stuff.
I think it was really he's certainly not the first person in games to do it, but I think Brad was one of the first people that I saw start to like really on a large platform combine conversations about video games with also like, hey, fuck off if you're a piece of shit like person from a political perspective or something. And that meant a lot to me because I never expected it initially from Brad as he started to become more outspoken about politics and stuff like that. And so that I think was really influential in me to say, you know, regardless of who my audience is, I'm going to stay firm in like my values and beliefs. I'm not going to stow it just because I'm at work. And if someone says something shitty or just because I'm like in a public space like that was, I think that was really helpful for me. And
for me, like there's so many things you could point at in terms of just video content and stuff that they produced and put out there. But for me, like I had a long-standing conversation and like personal relationship with Ryan Davis. Like we talked all the time. We hung out anytime we were in the same city, and he was one of the most genuine people I've ever met. Like of course, this isn't about the folks who are leaving. This isn't about Brad, Ben, or Alex, but just in terms of Giant Bomb and the people there, because it is changing. Like the thing to note, and I think this applies to all those guys, is whenever I interacted with Ryan Davis, you always had the impression that he was just kind of loud and abrasive and a dick, and you know, like he would be rude to people and stuff like that. But when you interact with him on a one-to-one human level, he was like one of the most empathetic and caring people I'd ever talked to. Like those conversations were brutally honest in really great ways, and he was never rude, and it was amazing.
I mean, I've talked about it with you guys before, but I've always like liked Dan generally on podcast content. I like him when he has like somebody else to like sometimes rein him in a little bit. But I always
king of reining in or giving him just enough to hang himself.
Oh man, on that last Beastcast, he asks a bunch of questions about stud finders. It was like classic. Oh, so good. Anyway, and I was like, but I was always like, man, Dan's the last guy on the podcast I'd want to hang out with. I bet he's insufferable in person. And then I ended up hanging out with him for like an hour and a half after a PAX panel. And he was like what you're saying, Alex, he was incredibly kind. He was incredibly kind to us. He spent a bunch of time hanging out with us when like he's totally didn't have to. And when other people were like, okay, I'm going to go back to my room, go to bed and stuff, he was hanging out, drinking beers in the lobby of this hotel with us for like hours. It was really cool. And I think that that's, just something that you get from that website is that the people there are just like really seem like they're just really interested in being like kind to the people they interact with in a way that I think is important and good. And I hope continues with the next generation of Giant Bomb staff.
Yes. Which extends to like my thoughts on that is something they also alluded to, is that you have to remember that these internet personalities, they're human beings. and what you see on them, like of their video content, what you see them producing and everything like that isn't necessarily who they are. If you project those values onto them, that isn't the human behind the scenes, and you have to remember that for all these folks. The only last anecdote I have, like, of personal relationships with any of those guys was Alex Navarro. In 2012, I want to say, I organized for him to come do a talk at my university, because we had a video game music club, and we were able to get him in there because he was a video game person and was also into music and stuff. Like,
was he at Harmonix at that time? He must have. No, he in Boston, right?
We were in Boston, but he was there for PAX East as a Giant Bomb person, and we're like, okay, there's such a tenuous relationship between music and video games here, but we all love Giant Bomb, and like we were just able to convince him basically, and like I organized that and hung out with him a lot, and he was so affable and so kind and so funny, like extremely funny. And throughout that PAX East, every time I went there, we would just randomly see each other and just basically finger gun each other, and it was the best. So those guys are
that sounds like something Alex Navarro would do. Yeah.
And I look forward to seeing whatever they get up to next. And I wouldn't be surprised if all of them go extremely private after
I don't think we're going to see anything. I mean, I think they'll probably again, I don't mean to speculate too much on what they're going to do in the future, but
I just wouldn't be surprised.
You know, I wouldn't be surprised either if this is kind of the watch them drive off moment.
If I could, oh god, don't say it. It's been a long road.
Yeah. They played that at the end of the stream yesterday.
I heard, and I don't think I can handle it. Like even just like listening to the Beastcast was like, I couldn't do it. It was hard.
I did it while I was practicing at Charlotte Motor Speedway last night, so I had something else to focus on while I was.
It sucks. I'll miss those guys.
Yep.
But you know, good for them getting out. They had a long run, and they deserve all the happiness.
Kind of the long. I mean, Totillo, like,
sure. Yeah.
I don't know that there's that many people who have been in
games
that space for so long.
Most people get out.
I mean, like technically.
He's in like
they do the podcast though.
But he's not in like
I'm talking about like
media stuff,
as an editor at a website. Yeah, like I can't think of anybody
producer
who
like Greg Miller is getting up there, but he's also like kind of doing like.
But he started because of Giant Bomb.
So he did. He's not nearly as long, but he is like Imran was posting like. Saying I just realized that in 5 to 7 years, people are going to be referring to me and my cohort as the elder statesman of games journalism.
So it's pretty wild. I mean,
those are people who are like coming up like in the last few years.
Those Giant Bomb guys are like the elder. They're like the great grandfathers at this point.
Yeah, I mean, Jeff has been in it since the 90s, like early 90s, right? And like
it's impressive.
Yeah. Patrick Klepek has been doing it since he's 14. So that's.
Since he was sort of like the second generation of Giant Bomb staff, he seems like he's always
he seems like he's 12 years old still, but
perpetually.
But still, he's been doing it for such a long time. But yeah. Anyway,
it's interesting.
Yeah, maybe we'll hear him on like the Fire Escape cast with Dan, Mike Mahardy, and Mary Kish or something occasionally. I can hope.
Oh yeah,
you know
Brad's
what?
Still got his tech pod with Will Smith. Yep. I imagine he's going to continue.
This is again pure 100% speculation. I could totally see Brad Shoemaker writing a book.
Yeah, I could see any of them, frankly. Yeah.
I think he's going to become a hair model.
I hope so.
God, you could still see the baby face under there.
We got to do the official Twitter thing. They're going to start a Patreon. They're going to get Austin Walker to leave his contracting work to be on their Patreon, and they're going to get Patrick Klepek to quit his job at Vice, even though he has children and a house, to join a Patreon, and then they're going to get Greg Miller to leave Kind of Funny. Just fantasy book your fucking Patreon, which is something I'm so fucking tired of.
Top 1% of OnlyFans.
Dave Lang, John Vignacchi, John Drake, and Adam Boyes are all going to leave Iron Galaxy.
Because they're such great friends.
Nintendo, and
since they're such great friends, of course they're going to throw all of their professional prospects away to do a Patreon so that
they're going to fund the whole
thing.
Can
have a podcast. Like, fuck off.
Yeah.
Let people live their lives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, so that's it on the big earth-shattering news of the week.
Yeah. Kind of the big, I mean, it blew up really big. Like the entire game space seemed to be talking about it this week. And it felt like it overshadowed like pretty much, at least in terms of Western games design and media, that blew it up.
So we got a couple quick hits here and then like another kind of bigger thing. So let's see, after that we've got two bits of
thing is the big thing.
Oryuga Gotoku Studio news. Yakuza will be staying turn-based going forward, it sounds like. So Yakuza 8, 9, 10,
11,
like
12.
Yep. Like a wyvern, like a worm, like a like
11.
a drake. Will be turn-based and
Like a virgin.
Turn-based?
Well, that's all the games are like a virgin because Kiryu and Ichiban are both 100% virgins. Judgment 2 was announced, and that is actually going to maintain the beat-em-up combat of the previous games in the Yakuza series and of Judgment. So if you want that beat-em-up combat,
What was
Judgment's
it called?
your game now.
Lost Judgment? Yeah, Lost
Lost,
Which
Judgment,
sounds
according
like
to this list.
What's funny is Lost Judgment sounds like a JRPG.
Man, remember when they revealed Judgment and the Japanese game name was Judge Eyes?
Oh yeah, that's such a better name. They should have just kept that for the West.
Yep.
Lost Judge Eyes. He lost his Judge Eyes. Rob Zachney over at Waypoint has been playing Judgment and has had nothing but good things to say about it.
I should play it. It's on Game Pass now or something, right? I don't even know.
I know Sam was really into it.
Yeah, it seems like a great game.
Oh, I gotta play it now before there's like 7 games in the series. I still have to go back to Yakuza 2.
I know.
It's not enough time.
Nope.
What am I doing with my life?
They're really
not playing
good.
Yakuza, that's for sure.
One nice thing about getting into sim racing, there's no like gotta keep
lore.
up, gotta play. Yeah, there's no lore.
Next you gotta know all the lore of all the cars.
I mean, the next gen NASCARs did just drop in iRacing.
Speaking of lore, Mass Effect Legendary Edition comes out next week, and they have released all the previous deluxe exclusive Mass Effect content for free, like art books and like behind the scenes stuff and like soundtracks.
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah.
Kind of nice.
Can you
From like the previous releases. Yeah.
I'm sure it's going to be good, but can you imagine if that Legendary Edition sucked? And if they just fucked up making a re-release of Mass Effect?
Well, you know what? You can go to giantbomb.com and watch Mass Alex.
Yeah.
Which is how I have enjoyed Mass Effect in the recent like past 2-3 years. Yeah, probably like the past 3 years. So yeah, that's a neat thing. If you want some Mass Effect soundtracks and stuff, you can go get that for free.
Yep. And I'll make sure it's in the show notes, a link to that.
Yeah. A couple weeks ago, you might have remembered us talking about Microsoft and Discord, and then how like maybe they were talks
dollars,
and then Discord was like, nah, we're not feeling it. And then this week, Sony and Discord announced a partnership. There's no purchase here, which some people on social media need to understand. There's no purchase. Microsoft didn't fuck up or whatever. Like, Microsoft has had a deal in place with Discord for years.
Yeah.
We don't even know what the Sony deal is going to look like. It's going to like kind of come together in 2022 is when we'll see like what that is, I guess, or when it'll at least come out. It'll probably be integration where people can see what you're playing, and maybe some chat integration, which would be nice if they got that on Xbox too, so you could chat like cross-party, cross-platform, easy.
Yeah, hopefully that sounds great.
Just do it. Yeah,
they should do that. Yeah,
it's kind of a presence and all that.
It's kind of a wonder they haven't already. And like I've been said in the past,
well, Sony doesn't like the cross play. So
Well, that we know that for sure now, don't we?
yeah,
We know that even more than we did
like,
before.
Yep. Yep.
Oh boy, we'll get there.
Yeah.
Yep. So
But,
yeah,
yeah, it
slow your roll,
seems-
people.
It seems like good news. I don't know why people are freaking
Yeah.
out about it.
Well, and also just fucking, it doesn't, they don't give a shit about you. Sony doesn't care about you. Sony doesn't care at all about you. So stop doing this, like, armor up to go fucking fight in the Sony crusades. You are a number. You do not matter to Sony or Microsoft at all.
Yep.
Stop acting like you care about them like they're people. I mean, there are people that work there. Be nice to them when you interact with them. But like as a corporate entity, they don't give a fuck about you. Stop giving a fuck about them. Damn it. Makes me so mad. I'm so tired.
Jim Ryan doesn't give a fuck about anything.
Absolutely not.
The only thing he cares about is crash zooms.
Oh my god, yes.
And his bank account. That's the thing. All they give a shit about is making money off of you.
Yep.
Yeah. The only one I would say, Phil Spencer.
The only
does, like,
high
he
score
gives a
that
slight
matters.
shit, but
Phil Spencer gives a slight shit, but if he had to do something that would for you personally, that would like hurt the prospects of the company, I don't think that he would.
Oh,
I mean,
totally.
maybe if it was like to save your life, but like I'm talking about like
I gotta save your life, but the only thing I have that can pull you up is these blueprints for the Xbox Series Y.
I bet I don't know what he would. I'm not gonna, I think Phil Spencer seems like in the space of corporate like bosses, he seems pretty good. Yes, is my point.
they should they should sign Vin Diesel up and then have a Xbox Series XXX.
Or Ice Cube.
No, come on. There's only one XXX.
No, there's two. They made another one.
Well, I mean, there's three. But there's only one. There's only one that matters.
That was the worst joke I've heard in a long time. I love it.
Not sextuple X. Did you see that thing I posted, or someone on Twitter posted? It was like they should call the next Resident Evil like mainline Resident Evil 6. So you can do the IX as 9.
Yes.
Yeah,
and
that was really
confuse
funny.
people.
Yes. I just want. Now I feel like I have to play the whole series because I can't get the phrase President Evil out of my head, and I know that that's a thing in Resident Evil 6.
Well, that is,
It's literally the very beginning of Leon's story.
Yeah.
It's literally the opening. I
just want
6 with you.
I want someone to look into the camera and go, "President's evil."
Yeah, that's Solid Snake.
I did sound like Solid Snake more than the Resident Evil voice.
Get David Hayter in there, sure.
It is fucking wild that there was never a Resident Evil Metal Gear Solid crossover. I know they're totally different companies. I understand, but
Konami doesn't give a fuck.
no, clearly it just seems like in the 90s or something that would have been a time. Yeah. Anyway,
Snake, can love bloom in a viral outbreak?
Snake riding, yelling, "Leon!" from in a dumpster.
And then Otacon is just rolling down a hill.
Oh God.
Oh wow!
I got a fanfic to write.
I gotta head down to Osaka, visit Capcom.
What was who was the dude who was always pooping himself?
That's
Johnny something. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Get Johnny in there.
Yeah. Former 343 dev has come forward saying Halo Infinite is constantly being made under crunch
Surprise,
conditions.
surprise.
Or shouldn't it say is being made under constant crunch conditions? I'm taking issue with the way this is written here, but maybe this is the quote. I don't know.
2 a.m.
I mean, it's the same thing either way, I guess, but
I'm not stupid. It sucks.
I'm not surprised.
I think that game's I have no faith in that game being anything other than a steaming pile.
There are going to be like you were saying with the Sony stuff, like, the same goes for Microsoft, and they're going to be people who defend it no matter what. But like that game needs to be like hot fire, like in a good way.
Yeah, it has to be really good to matter, and it will not be.
Well, I mean, I don't know how they make it hot fire. Like,
that's what I mean.
Like, I don't know what expectation we have to set for it to hit that. Like, I just don't know what realistically it would have to be.
I mean, for me, like, Halo's always been like the multiplayer thing with my friends. So like, I'm not the person to answer that question. And maybe they need a really good multiplayer thing. Like,
to me,
co-op or
people care competitive, or just like, you know, like the weird like Forge stuff, and that's mostly what my friends and I did, was Forge stuff. So like, I'm the wrong person to really ask about Halo, but like co-op campaign was always like the other thing we did. That was always important and fun. But I don't know what that's, you know, like 5 was kind of not the greatest, I heard. So
yeah, I don't know.
It would be great if that game was good. Of course, it's like good to have good games, but
yeah, we don't want bad games.
But I mean, also the entire like a perception of Infinite kind of came off of, oh, it just doesn't look like amazing, like the textures or whatever, and like, so what? Like, hard to tell from what little they showed of gameplay whether it's a good game or not. But that game, like, if it was, like, they wouldn't have delayed it a year if it didn't need it, you know. If they didn't think they could fix it or do something. So hopefully that year is actually enough to.
I think that there's every possibility that Microsoft said, we'll give you another year, but you got to figure it out. And they're going, oh shit, oh fuck, oh shit, oh fuck.
Yeah. But, you know, how do they get to the point where does Microsoft, you know, someone has to say, oh yeah, we can do XYZ, and like, here's what we can do actionably based on what they saw in this like 5-minute trailer or whatever. Like,
oh yeah.
You know, and of course they've had like gameplay testers and stuff like playing the game, so like, you know, they know what it is. But with how quickly they delayed it and like the length of the delay it's all very fascinating. It'll be you know, we're probably 6 months out from that game coming out,
and I want that game to be good. I mean, I want games to be good.
Of course,
I hope it's good, and I hope that the developers can get out of those conditions, because that's fucked up.
That's the thing we're not talking about, is that news article that it's being made under crunch, and the reaction should be, of course it is. It's the fucking game industry.
That's kind of why I haven't continued to talk about it, because it seems obvious to me. Unfortunately,
we talked about that.
Think it wasn't
last year? Like, that was the point of the article I wrote last year. Is like, this is just the standard for the industry, and it's not going to change until, you know, like,
we abolish capitalism.
Also the game industry gets its shit together.
Yeah, and I think workers having more power would have a big impact on that potentially as well.
And management not being total poo-poo.
Right.
Even with like an extra year, suddenly, oh, that doesn't mean, oh, well, we can just tighten things up and like it's casual. We got a year. No, now we got, you know, pedal to the metal whole time.
It's exactly what we saw with Cyberpunk, and we're going to see it with so many other games too. It's purely mismanagement of time, a mismanagement of expectations, and, you know, like saying, oh, we're going to meet these deadlines, not meeting them, and then blaming the developers basically, and saying, oh, now we need to take this extra year because these people couldn't get it done. You know, like, that's not what they're saying outwardly, but I imagine there's at least some of that attitude going on just from previous experience and just previous evidence. So it sucks, and there needs to be a way to fix it. And again, this is why there are so few senior developers in games, because no one wants to deal with that much bullshit all the time. They get out of it.
Yeah, there was something going around where it's like, oh yeah, if you want a senior position in games, you're set. If you want entry level, there's nothing. Because just like job listings, there's all senior positions. Like, there's tons of them, but entry level positions, there's nothing.
It's because they dehumanize the entry level positions. They're like, oh, these are kids straight out of college who are very passionate and excited, and they will work these long hours because they care. And then they burn those kids out, and then those kids move on to other industries, and
where they're better paid and have better work-life balance. And
and then there's always going to be a new kid. Like, there's always going to be a new kid who wants to get into the industry, because like you're saying, there's let's say 50 entry level positions, and there's going to be like 10,000 people applying for it. So there's always going to be people wanting that position, even though it's so crushing.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, I hate to say it before we get into the meat of this this next bit, which is what
you gotta get out of here soon.
I gotta kick the tires and start the engines.
Okay.
All right. Let's just power through this really fast then.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
The other big thing that's been happening this week is the first week of Epic versus Apple in court, the trial, testimony, and all that stuff. And there has been a lot coming out, like from statements to just like we can't.
We simply can't.
Reb Valentine's reporting at IGN is really good.
She's been doing
the whole
so
thing.
good
She's doing an awesome job.
And she is used to this kind of stuff.
Yep. And I listened in on some of the hearing on the conference call, and it was very funny. They just seem like they're going in circles. They don't even fucking know what they're talking about.
Oh,
Tim Sweeney doesn't even really know what he's talking about.
Oh god, it's reading their statements is just like kind of
What is a
offensive.
video game?
Yeah. My favorite thing.
Oh my god.
My favorite thing to come out of it was someone sharing a tweet last year of Tim Sweeney saying like, this isn't just about Epic. This is about all developers getting a better shake on the App Store. And then he was asked, would you have taken a specialized sweetheart deal for Epic to avoid this? And he said, yes.
Yeah.
Like, fuck off, dude. You're a fucking liar and an asshole. Like,
we probably like said that was the case back when we were talking
of
about
course.
this
I never believed him at any point, but
yeah. God. So
we definitely talked about it as soon as the 1984 Fortnite stuff came out. We were talking about how it seems so insincere.
That's what 1980 Fortnite's all about.
Anyway, you should go read their reporting. It's good.
We have to call out that one. We have to call out
the thing from today. Yeah. So, and we talked about this on the podcast a couple days ago or a couple weeks ago, was how Itch is now on the Epic Game Store. Like you can download the Itch client, which gets you get to the Itch store and launch your Itch games and all that stuff, so you don't have to go through like the web browser,
which is great, because if you're not familiar with Itch, it's like a wonderful hub for like indie creators. It is
filled with unspeakable games that are not fit to be said in a courtroom. That's what it is, Alex.
Facepalmed as soon as you said that. Who said it? Was it the Apple?
It was the Apple person, I believe, said they are unspeakable games. Yes, like they are filled with fetishes and descriptions filled with fetishes and names that are unspeakable in a courtroom. Like what?
So
it's stupid. Like these people are, so stupid. Their other big gotcha was there are 25 games on your top 20 game page. Like what? Okay. But yeah, so their whole thing was basically
I didn't hear
Apple
that.
was it was very silly. They were going through the store and like, oh, is this? And because part of the thing is like Epic wants to be able to put like a store or like, third-party stores on like iOS or like, other like Android.
Sure, like a consolidated place where you can get all the stuff. Sure.
Yeah. Well, so like, alternate stores. So if you don't want to go through the App Store, you can go through the Epic Store or like the Amazon Store, whatever.
Gotcha.
That's part of like Epic's kind of push. It's like alternatives. And so Apple, their whole thing with this and how it got to it was them saying, well, you have the Itch Store on the Epic Store. And so it has all these games that are like pornographic and are unspeakable and have all these fetishes and sexualization and violence and blah, blah, blah. And they were like, well, yeah, like you can download the client for the store, but those aren't our games. Like we don't, if you go onto the Itch Store, you're subject to Itch's terms and conditions and their license agreement. It's not us. It's just a way to get the store. And Apple was just like, but if this was if they had a store, if you had a store on iPhone, could people download Itch on mobile? And like, well, I don't think so, because they don't have mobile. Like they don't have like a mobile app as far as I know. And it's just very much Apple trying to pin Itch on Epic, which is just like, and then also saying all this stuff like, oh, sexualization in general, just sexualized content is bad. And they had like the epic person, Steve Allison, I think is his name, something Allison, was on record saying, I think sexualization of any, I do not condone sexualization of any kind or whatever. It's like, what? How do we get here? It's like such a weird gotcha. There's like there's no good answer for
there
him
was
in that situation.
There was a dumb moment where they were like, Sweeney said that in order to purchase VBuck or purchase anything in an iOS app, you have to grab a second device and open a browser. Like, that's not how in-app purchases work, for starters. Second of all, then the judge was like, hold on a second, are you saying you want children to be able to impulse purchase things? And it's like, good. What the fuck are we doing here?
Know how iOS works?
Yeah, like, have you ever heard? Is this the first time you're hearing about the concept of e-commerce? Like, of fucking course they want kids to be able to buy stuff with impulse purchases. It's shitty, but in some ways it's like, why are you even asking that question?
Oh, because they don't know like how any of this stuff works, and it's very funny hearing like because the video game industry is so secretive. One of my favorite stories from this week was actually the judge getting very frustrated by third parties coming in and asking for documents to be sealed and redacted like in real time. And like in the middle of testimony, and then they're like, wait, we need to redact this right now. I just got word from like a partner, and they're like, are you fucking kidding me? What? This is unheard of in like so the courts are not prepared for the like documents were like released and then had to be like sealed. Yeah, like documents had to be sealed after being already released. And the judge is like, this is pointless, you know? This is nonsense.
To step it back to the itch stuff, I think the thing that has been most frustrating about it is like they pulled up some very specific examples, which whatever. But like the thing about itch and sexualization and things of that nature is the fact that a lot of that comes from like queer creators who will be deplatformed for expressing their like opinions on things like gender or just anything to do with the LGBTQ community. They go to itch because they aren't going to be censored and they can express whatever they need to. So they're in like the Apple lawyer is like just it's Apple indirectly, but because you can consider this the voice of Apple coming through, like deplatforming them and marginalizing them even further, and like that's the whole point of itch. So it's
100%
that part was
like just
very
garbage.
Frustrating. That was very, very frustrating.
Apple trying to like moderate platforms that are not their own, basically.
Which they have a history of, but we're not going to get into it right now.
Mixolumia, an unspeakable game.
Of course. And speed dating for ghosts.
Unspeakable.
It's also on Steam, but
it's also there's unspeakable things on Steam. You believe me?
Steam is much more unspeakable than itch.
100%. But yeah, so that
we'll
testimony and stuff.
This
I'm sure there'll be plenty of gold to come out in the next week. Testimony will continue next week. There was some really good stuff about Roblox and like the distinction. Apple saying, Roblox is an app with social experiences, but then and Fortnite is designated as a game in the App Store, but then Roblox is also designated as a game in the App Store. So and the judge is like, wait, so how is Roblox and Fortnite? How are they different? And Apple is like trying to say some shit, and it's stupid. It's stupid. People
sounds like such a semantic nightmare.
It is 100%. What is a game? They're talking about what is an RPG and like, stuff like that. But
there's only one thing I can say. I know what art is because I know what art is when I see it. And this week I saw art.
You saw a weird ass official Waluigi rendering from a Nintendo Switch unboxing. Like the blue one, the new blue Switch unboxing from Nintendo just has like a weird, like back breaking, like think of like the weirdest, most awkward pose you've seen a woman in on the cover of a comic book from like Marvel or DC. That's what Waluigi looks like in this picture.
It's beautiful.
So incredibly sexy.
100%.
Wow.
The tongue is like lovingly textured.
He's holding a rose, as you would expect from Waluigi.
Oh, yeah, of course. Wario likes money. Waluigi likes roses.
Interesting. That.
Yeah.
I was gonna make some joke about Daisy, but anyways.
Daisy.
Yeah.
To
Daisy.
Waluigi's battle royale of choice.
Yeah.
That is going to do it for episode 171. We're going to get out of here so Pat can get his race on, get in that cockpit. Oh, he's gesturing at his cockpit.
His cock right now. Yeah,
Yep,
he's showing us.
Yep,
he's
that's the
lovingly
pit
showing
right
us
there.
the whole thing from base to stern.
But it's very spherical.
It extends to the ground. I can't show you to the all of it because I'd have to go under the desk.
Never show under the desk in a Zoom call. Oh no, he's doing it.
Hey, oh, yeah.
Oh wow,
Oh,
that's very textured.
The only thing missing is some. Oh, there's a foot. It's got a sock
boy.
on though. Sorry,
Oh, boy.
viewers. Just no.
We need to turn this off.
We don't do cameras anymore.
Yeah, I know.
We had not since I showed my nipples.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Go look for our Game of the Year 2018 video.
Sounds right.
Yeah, 2018. Yeah,
That was a good game of the year.
Whenever Dragon Ball came out.
Yeah,
The
2018. Yep. Yeah, when I had to reveal my allegiance, so none of you believed me when I said that was my game of the year. You're like, come on, be real. I'm
You're like,
"No, it's
good
really-
joke.
It's really my game of the year. I still think about that game and how good it is and how I wish more fighting games played like that. But anyway, that's gonna do it for episode 171 of the Gaming Fyx podcast on May 8th, 2021. I am your host, Andre Cole, aka your partner's favorite.
It was top level domain.
Top
Level domain. There we go. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's been a day. It's been a day. You can find me on Twitter at Coolslaw, COOLSL4W, where I don't know. I don't got anything special I'm doing lately, but maybe I'll write a review of like Resident Evil 8. Pat and I talk about doing a podcast review.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. Maybe like Returnal if I can beat it. It's that fifth level is it's a bastard. Pat, where can people find you?
You can find me at PJC Plays. I don't know.
Awesome.
I'm still scripting out some racing video stuff. So
You can see Pat's cockpit at PJC Plays. And Alex, where can people find you?
I might visit my mom tomorrow because it's Mom's Day.
All right, nice. And you can write your mom at gaming@fyx.space with all your nice Mother's Day messages.
Yeah,
and we'll read them on
forward
the
it.
air next week. Yep, we'll forward it and we'll read them on air next week. Whatever you want to say to your mom, we're there for you. And thanks to Jeff Davis at Stranger Piece for our theme music. And Fyx Podcasts on Twitter to keep up with Alex's Final Fantasy 14 adventures and
A lot of
anything
cat
else.
pictures.
Yeah, cat pictures, the fleets. Yep. All right. Well, that's going to do it. Thanks, guys. See you next week.
Pat is waving, so bye.
It's great for an audio format. Bye-bye.
Bye.